Some of you were texting me personally and talking to me about their troubles and asking me for advice on various academic things. And I thought I will just tell you about a little bit about how I started teaching and how I learned a lot of things. When I was doing my MA, it was in the 1990s, and I was a very enterprising kind of girl who started a lot of different projects on my own and writing books and things like that. For not big books, but children's books and like that I have written in my college days. And I did not want to teach in any college and teach the same things every year. I wanted to do something on my own and importantly learn. So I started teaching on my own and it became my business. And from the beginning, because I was a businesswoman, I couldn't take anything for granted. My students would ask me questions and they would ask me doubts and they would correct me. They would want me to teach things that I do not know yet. So it was a huge process of learning. If suddenly after MA or in the early years of your career, you do not think you're a scholar, it's okay. There is still time. Do not compare yourself with others, I learned. We have our own pace, we have our own skills. We don't have to be like anybody else. If they are better than us, there might be other things in which we are better than them. So I had that confidence always. And the first important thing that I did in my career was to balance my personal life and career. Uh, I had a small child when I started, when I was doing PhD and when I was building up tests. And my son and me were like working together. I would always telling, okay, when he was too small, I will say, I will give him his toys and everything, make him sit beside me and say, you do your work, I will do my work. And we are both working. Like that, I built in him a great love for work. I never told him, don't disturb me, don't go away, watch TV. I always tried to share my time with him, which was actually very good. And he accepted me as a mother as well as a teacher and a career woman very early in his life. And from the beginning, another decision that I took was I made my family understand, my parents and husband. He was abroad, but still he would come and stay for vacation months in a year. And I made them understand that household chores like sweeping the floor and wiping and washing clothes and cooking are wonderful things which I love doing, but I cannot do them on a daily basis because I have to study, I have to do my PhD. Uh, and when I started to earn money, I could give somebody employment to do household chores for me. So that way I got a lot of time. And I do not cook as a matter of policy every day. That doesn't mean I eat out. I make other arrangements. There is somebody who will cook for me. There is a cook whose family also runs because of the salary, which is wonderful. So like that, I had to tell people, okay, this is my stand. I cannot do other than this. Lot of people at the beginning questioned my decisions, and it was not easy. They said I'm not taking care of my son. People said you should be living with your husband. My parents were not happy because my kitchen was being dominated by the cook and things like that. But I had my priorities right. And then later on, in a few years, it was just a matter of years, a few years, I could prove myself right. And everybody is happy now because I had my career. So many people among you are women, especially in all English departments. Students and teachers are women mostly. Not that there are no men, but women especially find this a problem to balance. And they look up to me and they always ask me this question. Even for men, you should balance between work and other things that you do. I think in an educated, modern society, what defines a human being is the contribution that he or she makes to the society, the work. And work, like we said in Marxism, is not only about making money, it is about doing something wonderful in your life, doing something, contributing in some meaningful way to life. So I taught my son also this, that uh, how you interact with society depends on your profession and depends on your work. And even if you don't have an employment, sometimes you can still do a lot of meaningful work. So there are so many opportunities in this world because of cybernetics and because of technology. So we are not, even if we are teachers in a college or doing PhD or something, doing something traditional, there are so many ways in which we can explore new opportunities and put our talent to use. So I did that, and I never regretted it. It has been wonderful. Yeah, it is now 10 o'clock and we have still only 68 people with us. And also, I tell my students every time, what is important is curiosity. If you have curiosity, you don't need anybody to teach you. You don't, everything will come to you. So, what is this new theory I hear about? Who are the major people? Can you mute yourselves, Parveen? And we can hear you drinking tea. We can hear all the noises in your house. So, yeah, only if the speaker is unmuted, it would be good. I think by mistake, our mics become switched on. So, what I was saying is, if you have curiosity, keep wondering, what is this theory? Don't wait for somebody to come and teach you. When you engage in a webinar, it should be because you already know a lot of things about that topic. And you just want to engage in meaningful discussions and hear somebody else's point of view, revise. It should not be because you don't know anything at all about that topic. If you attend a lecture, whether it is in the classroom or in a webinar, because you don't know anything about it. I know that most of you attending this webinar know a lot of things about all the topics we are talking about. I'm just saying in general, uh, if we know a lot of things already when we attend a lecture, even if it is in the classroom or in a webinar, then it will make more sense to us. The time spent will be spent more meaningfully. So that also I tell them. YouTube link is already posted. Yeah. Attendance is low. Okay. Most people are attending the lecture in YouTube. That is why. Okay. And also, probably people are busy and they will watch only in the evening. They will not watch live. I know that, but I am not a very confident person by nature. I keep thinking, oh my God, did I do wrong? Was it boring? Was it not useful? Uh, it is good that I am diffident. I should not be confident, because if I'm confident, I will take myself for granted. I think as a professional, we should all be questioning ourselves and feeling a little nervous about our work. Then we'll do even better. Right. So we have a wonderful day ahead of us. Reader response criticism. I will just begin. It is 10 o'clock and 3 minutes. Hello, everyone. Yes. Shashikant, I'm just beginning. Is that okay? Connection problem for Shashikant, I think. Okay. I think he's saying okay. You have not unmuted. We can't hear you. Okay. Reader response criticism. Let me begin. Reader response criticism is a topic that I have kind of a lot of fear to talk about. You know why? Because it is philosophy. It is purely philosophy, and it is not our area completely. And reader response criticism is also very diverse. So many approaches regarding how the reader can create meaning, how the reader becomes important. We already talked about Roland Barthes and his idea that the author is dead, and the death of the author is simultaneous with the birth of the reader. Well, that is not actually reader response, that was post-structuralism. So that means reader response criticism imbibes ideas from post-structuralism. Reader response criticism, like many of you already know and you have been asking me also, is deeply intertwined with philosophical ideas like phenomenology and hermeneutics. I was rather presumptuous in trying to teach all the theories because each theory needs specialization. I had doubts whether I will be able to, even though I can do it in the classroom. Many of you are not students and you would need an advanced approach. So I was like worried whether I'll be able to do justice. But I thought anyway, something or the other, I will be able to add to your existing knowledge, some perspective, some new names and ideas and concepts. So that is why I took it up. I do not claim to be an expert in reader response criticism or eco-criticism, which is also probably why I pushed it to the end. Uh, and it is because these are, especially reader response, is a very diverse area and also very deeply philosophical. Now I have a presentation and I have tried to add some new ideas to existing ideas by giving some examples from daily life, which is what I promised from the beginning. And in some areas, because of the explosion of information, I was not able to go into everyday life a lot, but in a lot of other theories we did that. So let me start sharing my screen. Give me a minute, please. It is taking a little time. Yeah. Uh-oh. One minute, please. Sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, share. Yes. Reader response criticism and reception aesthetics or reception theory. They are like slightly different. Reader response is Anglo-American mostly, and reception aesthetics is German. Hans Robert Jauss and Wolfgang Iser are important figures in reception aesthetics. So let me just go on to the presentation. Reader response criticism denotes a variety of approaches, as I was telling you, and these approaches mostly started in the 1960s with the coming of post-structuralism and postmodernism. However, the importance given to the reader existed from a long time ago. The reader was important even for Plato. In the classical and romantic approaches, reader has been given variously importance, which we will look at presently. The importance of reader response criticism as a theory is that, taking cue from post-structuralism, reader response criticism shows that every work is a product of its historical moment. Every work is a product of socio-political factors, and the text is not a pre-existing entity. The text is not a finished product created by the author. The text is the result of the reader's experience of the text also. So the text or the meaning of the text is a jointly created entity. It is a process of creation of both the author as well as the reader. When more than one cook is making the broth, what happens is there are multiple meanings in the text. The text will have multiple meanings. These are ideas generated in the post-structuralist discourse itself. Now, I mentioned Plato. I said that Plato considered the reader important. That is because, I said that because, remember, Plato wanted to banish poets from the Commonwealth. That is because he was scared that the poets would corrupt the readers or the listeners. The listeners will be affected negatively by poetry. That is what he thought. So he's actually talking about the listeners or readers. Aristotle, in his theory of catharsis, also talks about the reader only or the listener, how the reader is affected and the excess emotions of pity and fear are purged in the reader. Then we come to later times. Classicism also talked about the effect of the text upon the reader. So did Romanticism. And in modern times, we have Russian formalism talking about defamiliarization, how the reader should be defamiliarized from the text, how the audience should be alienated. Bertolt Brecht talked about in Were from Dung's Effect, and so on and so forth. I'm not going into all that in detail. Just before literary theory came into being, or at the beginning of the literary theory period, we have new criticism. New criticism had a very different approach to the reader. Remember, the new critics believed in the autotelic text, the text as autonomous and independent of the reader. They even talked about the affective fallacy, or it doesn't matter how the reader is affected by the text. What matters is what they considered the objective text. They considered the text to be an objective artifact, and they thought that the text contains meanings within itself. This is completely different from the approach of literary theory. Literary theory started with structuralism, and the structuralism emphasized the idea that meaning resides in the context or the relationships of the text with the context. So the reader is engaging in an understanding of how the text engages with the context there. And then at the end of structuralism, we have Roland Barthes, who talked about the death of the author, which is simultaneous with the birth of the reader. And very significantly, Roland Barthes said that the reader is not just a reader, the reader is a scripter or a writer. So it is the job of the reader to make meanings out of the text. The reader is actually writing meanings into the text. When I say write, or when Roland Barthes says write, he does not mean this physical act of writing. He means creation of meaning. So from Roland Barthes, it is clear that reading is a creative act. Reading is a process of meaning creation. It is not just a passive reading or consumption of the meanings of the text that Roland Barthes talked about. Now, from Roland Barthes, we go on to this slide. Reading as a reader. How do you read as a reader? You sit and read and think, what an interesting story, because the author is telling you the story and you are enjoying the story that the author tells you. You are passively consuming the story. And you think, I wonder what will happen at the end. That means you are just a consumer of the story and you are following the path set by the author. The author has taken you along this road. You are going along that road and you are just following the directions of the author and wondering how the author will end the story. Sometimes when you read as a reader, you identify with the text. You think, wow, this is like me. You feel like the heroine or the hero. And you feel like the book has given me a great message. You feel, wow, the author has given me a great message. And you feel happy consuming that message. Did you understand? This is reading as a reader. Now, what an interesting story. I wonder what will happen at the end. I feel like I'm the heroine. The book has given me a great message. I was able to make this slide because I wondered what is different? How will I present it? What is the experience of reader as a writer? And then I cooked up this slide. Reading as a writer. How do you read as a writer? You go against the text. There, the text is the writerly text. I don't agree with the author's view on this character. You disagree with the author. You add your own meanings. You question. I will interpret this incident in my own way. This is not what the author says. I don't want to accept. I will interpret it in my own way. This book presents me with a curious connection with another book I have read or some experience I have had. You consciously sit and connect this book with other texts. You find the intertextual connections. You connect it with your own experience and so on and so forth. So that is how you read as a writer. Now, when I talk about structuralism and post-structuralism, there is a very important figure that I cannot miss talking about. That is Jonathan Culler. Jonathan Culler had a structuralist approach. Yesterday, I was reading on Jonathan Culler and structuralist poetics when in our classroom group, Renuga, who is also attending this webinar, started a discussion. In all our groups, there are discussions happening. Let us have a discussion in our group on theory also regularly. In our WhatsApp and Telegram groups, let us have discussions where you will all, not all of you, somebody or the other, every day will post some new information on some theory and everybody can benefit from it. Otherwise, there is no point in belonging to these groups, right? Right. So at that point, Renuga asked a question in the group about structuralist poetics, and I was able to remember and recollect an answer. I said this incident because, like Roland Barthes says, reading as a writer, to belong to a group in the social media, to do online learning, etc., you cannot be passive consumers. You have to be writers. In online learning, that is what happens in our groups, right? There should be constant interaction. There should be somebody posting information, not too much, but a little bit, some question, some thought-provoking thing. I'm increasingly doing this in all our groups because it makes a lot of sense to belong then. Reader as writer becomes even more relevant in online learning. I just wanted to tell you that. Now, Jonathan Culler in Structuralist Poetics, which was a 1975 book, he talks about literary competence that a reader should have. A reader should have literary competence. Remember, structuralism looked at a text as belonging to a context. A text is read in the context of larger structures, in the context of underlying structures. And when a reader approaches such a text, the competent reader should have the competence to understand the operations of literary discourse that is happening. What are the literary elements in this text? What are the devices that are used by the author? What are the generic peculiarities of this text, etc.? The reader should already be aware. Otherwise, you can't judge the text or read the text, I mean. And you should have some, the competent reader should have mastered skills to interpret the text, various kinds of reading, various kinds of interpretation. Literary theory, why you are studying literary theory, we are all studying literary theory, is because it is a technique of reading. It gives us an approach or perspective to reading. That is why when you do research, you need literary theory, because that is the technique of reading. When you do research, what you're doing is read other people's works, texts, and analyze them. When you analyze them, you need a technique of analysis. You need a methodology of analysis, and that is given to us by literary theory. So when we attend this webinar, we are actually building our competence, literary competence, which is a term used by Jonathan Culler. Jonathan Culler says that literary competence makes the reader convert the meaning beyond what is written in the text. What is given in the text is not the complete meaning. The reader has to convert the meaning, transform the meaning, change the meaning, and that is how literary competence helps the reader. I have compared literary competence to athletic competence. When you become a sports person or an athlete, you need to be of a certain age. Not necessary if all the other elements are there, but usually you need to be young. You need to have very less body fat, but you can't be too thin. You need to have a body image. You need to have self-esteem. You need to have bench press. I don't know what that means. That gives me an idea. You can apply linguistic theories and do research on cultural events like sports. When you do research on sportsmen or sportswomen and their narratives and how their body itself becomes a text. Take Mary Kom and a few others, for example, and how their body itself becomes a text. Body studies, you can apply linguistic theories, you can apply. Did you understand? It's wonderful to work like that. So I'm not an expert on all that. I'm just giving you a suggestion. I'm saying that this is a wonderful area for research. So I was just talking about the structuralist approach of our Jonathan Culler, and to understand how the reader contributes meaning and creates meaning. I have given another example here that is given by, no, this is not the example. I will just talk to you about the example. I forgot to put the picture. The example is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. How the reader creates meaning is sometimes discernible when you look at literary text. Let me take the example of Frankenstein. The monster in the text, the monster, the horror of the monster, the trauma that the monster experienced, everything becomes a reality with the reader's act of reading. Like Robert Walton. There is a frame narrative in Frankenstein. Robert Walton is writing to his sister Margaret about how he heard the story of Victor Frankenstein having created a monster. There, Robert Walton is like the reader. He is a reader of or listener of Victor Frankenstein's story. And it is the Robert Walton's listening to Victor Frankenstein's story. It is Robert Walton's internalizing the horror of that story and learning from it that makes the novel Frankenstein what it is. Frankenstein is a reality. The novel Frankenstein becomes a reality. The meaning of Frankenstein is fulfilled only because Robert Walton, the inbuilt reader of the book, is hearing the story and reading the story and experiencing it. Similarly, we, the reader, read every text. We read Frankenstein. It is our act of reading that brings the monster to life. It is when we experience the horror of the monster that the monster comes to life. Otherwise, there is no monster. The monster doesn't exist. It is only black and white printed letters on paper. The reality of a text is happening or coming to life only when we read the text. That means the book, any book that you read, take Frankenstein, it is the result of the reader experiencing, explaining, interpreting, reaching conclusions, defending his or her own conclusions. There is a process of negotiation of the reader with the text, and through this, the reader creates the text. If you are a cook, you will understand. I love cooking. Even though I don't cook as a matter of policy, I love cooking. And there is no maza in cooking. There is no, what can we say, gum in cooking. There is no pleasure in cooking if you don't feed somebody. You don't cook for yourself and eat great dishes. You need somebody to eat the food that you have made and appreciate it and enjoy it, right? The food becomes a reality. The food becomes what it is only when it is eaten by somebody, by the reader. Did you understand? So that is a very good example of showing how the reader has a creative role in, same with the case of a designer, same with the case of a teacher. A great teacher would always find fulfillment in the students' knowledge. When the students benefit from the knowledge and become professionals because of it, they start speaking and questioning, and they become teachers and scholars. That is the fulfillment of the teacher. like that. So the creative role of the reader is what reader response criticism asserts. As I already told you, reader response criticism emerged in Europe and America. In America, it is called reader response criticism. In Germany, it is called reception aesthetics. Major figures which we will talk about are Norman Holland, Stanley Fish, Wolfgang Iser, Hans Robert Joss, E.D. Hirsch, etc. And generally in reader response criticism, there is a psychological approach and a sociological approach. The psychological effects of reading and sociological effects of reading. Reader response criticism in general can be divided into some groups. I do not know all these very much. I'm not taking a generic approach to the theory. Or a group approach. I'm taking a theorist approach. Okay, transactional theory by Louis Rosenblatt is very famous. Transactional theory means the meaning comes into being as a result of the transaction between the text and the reader. I do not know how to explain it, so I'm not going into that in detail in this presentation. Another important approach is affective stylistics and interpretive communities. Both are theories of Stanley Fish. Affective stylistics was given up by Stanley Fish, and he revised that theory into that of interpretive communities, which we will talk about in the course of this day. A psychological or subjective approach was given by David Bleich. David Bleich worked largely with classroom students and how students took to text, and he advocated a very subjective approach. Norman Holland is famous for a psychological approach. We will briefly mention him also. Hans Robert Joss, who dealt with reception aesthetics, also worked in conjunction with Wolfgang Iser. Now, I'm mixing up these approaches and first talking about Wolfgang Iser. Wolfgang Iser is kind of one of the founding members of this whole theory, and his book, The Act of Reading, Map of Misreading, they're all very famous. He talks about how the text develops through the dialogue between the reader and the text. The text develops through the dialogue between the reader and the text, like in a classroom. Imagine the lecture as for example, this webinar, I'm giving a lecture. The lecture is not a complete thing. The lecture depends on how I lecture, what I lecture, etc. depend on your responses, your feedback, the questions that you ask at the end. Sometimes your questions will point at gaps and fissures and help me to cover up the gaps and fissures. You will sometimes make me revise what I said when you give suggestions or question what I said, etc. So this is basically the theory of communication. In communication, we know that feedback is very important. When you talk about communication, you can talk about reader response criticism or some of the theories and literature, experience of reading literature, etc. And when you talk about literary theory, we can talk about communication theories also. They're all interrelated. I forgot that some of you had asked questions yesterday. I had promised to take them up today. One question that you had asked me is, how is communications theories applicable in literature and research? This is one reason how. Because in reading, what is reading and writing? That is communication. You can apply communication studies there. In globalization studies, in business studies, when you talk about media studies, when you talk about sometimes gender or history, in all these fronts, we can actually apply communication studies. And you should just not study communication studies superficially, study them in relation with all these theories. So I was saying that in communication theory, feedback is important. It is very important that there should be a dialogue between the text and the reader. If there is no discussion or dialogue, there won't be a meaningful text. This idea of Roman Jakobson was derived from phenomenology, from Husserl and Roman Ingarten. Roman Ingarten and Husserl, Edmund Husserl, were very major phenomenologists. I will talk about phenomenology and hermeneutics only at the end, because after studying all these theories that these people talked about, we will be able to understand the philosophy better. Wolfgang Iser also worked in conjunction with Hans Robert Jauss and his reception aesthetics. Both of them were associated with the Constance School of Reception Theory. Constance School of Reception Theory. And Wolfgang Iser therefore believed that reading is an act that leads to the concretization of the literary text. The literary text becomes concrete. It becomes established as a concrete entity because of the act of reading. And the literary work is not an object, but an effect. That is very important. The literary work is not an object, but an effect. I should have put one picture there, like God. I should have put a picture of God there. Yeah. Because God is not a person. God is not a thing. God is an effect. When you help other people, when you experience love, when you see beauty in this world, when you see goodness in this world, when you become a reason for other people's happiness, and so on and so forth, that is when you experience God. Ultimately, all religions, when you deconstruct their theories of religions, you understand that all religions ultimately talk about abstract ideas like happiness and love and beauty and compassion. They talk in metaphors, all religions. And many religious people take it literally and forget the real meaning of these metaphors. They move away from the abstractions, get stuck in the literal meanings of the parables in religions, and fight over one another. Did you understand? So God is an effect. God is not a thing. If you search for God, like the what is it? The musk deer, Kasturi man, the musk deer searching for it, the smell. That is the famous, archetype. The musk deer. That example also I could have added. I did not add. I'm sorry. This is another thing. Like the musk deer searching for its smell, we should not search for the meaning of the text as a concrete thing. The meaning of the text is an effect. We feel it. It is created in our minds. Did you understand? Like the smell is also created in the mind. So Wolfgang Iser shows that the text is not a thing, but an effect. And he shows that the text is the product of the writer's intentional acts. The writer has given some directions in the text. And let me move on to another slide, which I put a little later. This is the slide. This is Snakes and Ladders game, as you know. The writer, or the person who created the game, deliberately put one ladder here so that we can move to 20. And do you remember how we felt when you are in 99, when you are in 98, sorry, 98 also you can't be, when you are in 96, you pray, for God, don't give me 3, don't give me 3, because if you get 3, you will go trying to 63. Who put this here? It is the writer. When we feel, this is like a text that we are playing. When we feel our emotions, our responses, our prayer, oh my God, let me not get 3 when we are in 96. That prayer is created by the writer's intentional acts. The writer deliberately put all these traps here. One, snake here, one ladder here. No, ladder is to go up. One snake here, he's deliberately put because he wants us to feel it. So Wolfgang Iser shows that reading a text is the result of 1, the writer's intentional acts. 2, the text controls the reader's responses. The reader's responses are controlled by the text. Nobody will fail to think, oh my God, don't let me get 3, because it is intentionally controlled by the text, our response. And the text always contains gaps and fissures. Everything, this is a gap. It takes the reader to fill the gaps. By moving our dice, we have to fill the gaps and then reach the end of the text. It is our filling the gap, our movement, our reading that creates the text. Imagine this as a novel. The novel has put there some elements which creates our responses. Oh, this should not have happened. Oh my God, this is wonderful. They met each other. Wow, they fell in love. Oh, then what will happen to the other person? Like this, our responses are created by the writer, by when the reader puts those characters there, those situations there. And the text is controlling our response. And it is our act of reading, our filling the gaps that creates the text. If we do not read like that, if we do not think along with the text will not be created. So that is what Wolfgang Iser said. Meaning is a construction that occurs by the act of reading between the text and the reader. And Wolfgang Iser said that reading is a process of anticipation, frustration, retrospection, reconstruction, and satisfaction. What are the things that he says? Reading is an act of anticipation. When you are in one, you think, oh, let me get you are starting the game. You want to get 2 on the dice because you want to climb up the ladder. You're anticipating, but then you don't get it. And then you reach 8. You reach 4 again. So frustration you feel. You feel anticipation when you read the text, but then you feel frustration. Then sometimes you have to go back and think. That is retrospection. Imagine watching a TV serial. At the end of every episode, you have anticipation. Will this happen in the next episode? And then you have frustration. That did not happen in the next episode. Then you have, what is called retrospection. Sometimes the story that happened in a previous episode is reminded. We are reminded of it once again. And at the end, we have satisfaction. So there is a continuous negotiation with the text that is happening. Wolfgang Iser himself gave the example of this. This is a constellation. These are stars in the sky, a constellation. Big Dipper, that is the constellation. It is called Big Dipper in US and Canada. In UK and Ireland, it is called the plow. Wolfgang Iser said, for some people, it looks like the plow. For some people, it looks like the dipper. What do you mean by dipper? Dipper means one spoon with which you take oil, etc. So dipper is what some people see. Other people see the plow. So the Big Dipper or the plow is a large constellation consisting of 7 bright stars in Ursa Major. Wolfgang Iser himself gave this example. Where some people see something, other people might see other things. Wolfgang Iser thus regarded the text as a dynamic entity. It is it can have many interpretations, many meanings, and the reader's perspective is constantly shifting. We are not seeing the same thing or reading the same thing always. Every reader might read different things every time, or every reader might give new perspectives to it. Wolfgang Iser also talked about the actual reader and the implied reader. Suppose you are going to watch a movie. Suppose you are going to watch a movie. I am Kalyani Vallat. I have education in English literature. I have learned all these theories. I come from a middle class family. I have a husband and 1 son. I live with my father. I come from Kerala. We do all various things in Kerala. Kerala culture is like this. I live in the 21st century. With all this baggage of what I am, with all these cultural qualities that I have, I reach the movie theater. I go there, sit down. I am the actual reader, with the actual person, with actual experiences and expectations and thoughts, and I watch the movie. And I am responding to the movie as Kalyani, thinking from my point of view, thinking, applying my perspectives, judging the film according to my prejudices, etc. That is the actual reader. And sometimes we become the implied reader. Every text contains an implied reader. For example, when I conducted this webinar, when I wanted to organize this webinar along with Shashi and Raven and Maharashtra TESS Alumni Association, the first thing that we have to think about is, who are the customers? What do they need? We created in our mind an implied reader or an implied customer. customers who come to us might want to know traditional theories, these concepts. What they don't get from books is clarity of concepts, I thought. And what they don't get from books, I should give them in the webinar, I thought. So I took the concepts only, major concepts, and I analyzed them with everyday examples that everybody can appreciate. Because this is a webinar, it has to be interesting. I have to use gestures, I have to change the slides, I have to show everyday examples. Otherwise, you will feel bored and you will sit there and sleep. And I won't even be able to know what is happening. Like a fool, I will teach here and all of you will be sleeping. So when I created the implied reader, I understood the implied customer or the implied participant. I understood what are the participants' requirements, what are the participants' challenges, how the participant would want me to conduct these lectures. Did you understand? When I write a book also, I have to look at this hypothetical reader and understand what the reader will expect and address that reader in writing the book. If the book is very powerful, if the book is very good, you will all become the implied readers. If I am very good at my webinar organizing, if I am very good at lecturing, then all of you will act like I thought, like I expected. Did you understand? Because you will become the implied readers. You will not question very much. You will not disrupt very much. You will all, be the implied reader. So the implied reader responds to the response-inviting structures of the text. And the implied reader is defined by the text, and the text controls response. Did you understand? When I am an author, I'm adding something, some theory to this by myself. Okay, I'm just giving you some idea for thinking. I did not find this in any reader response critic. It is my theory. If I write about it, probably it will be good. I can present a paper on it. What is this theory? I'm giving you this thought, this suggestion. I am the author and this lecture is my text normally. But with my experience, I think the author can become the text. When I speak, I become one with the text. I become one with the concept that I'm teaching, the examples that I'm giving. I put myself into the text and I become the text. It is not like I put my personality into the text. Rather, the text creates me, the text makes me. In all reader response theories, the author and the text are separate. That is what I thought. Even when reader response theorists say that the text creates the author, there are two things. I am saying that the author is the text. The author is one and the same as the text sometimes. In that sense, the author is dead because he became the text. How do you like that? Anyway, coming back to implied reader, when any movie you watch, imagine any movie that you watch, any good movie that you watch, that movie has an implied reader. For example, look at this movie, Three Idiots. There is an implied reader in this movie. When we go and sit and watch that movie, even if we got a lot of marks in our exams and we were good performers, we will sit there and think, yeah, I was also like them. I did not understand everything clearly. I was original and creative and intelligent, but I did not understand what was happening in the system. The system oppressed me. We will sit there and think, even though actually we got very good marks and probably we oppressed people who were less, who were performing less than us, probably. We were at the top of the system, probably, but even then we will sit there and think, yeah, this happened to me. I'm also like that. Why? Because we are becoming that implied reader. This movie addresses those people or the implied reader who should feel like, yeah, the system is oppressive. The system did not recognize my skills. Did you understand? Let us take another example. Hindi medium movies that we are watching these days. Our beloved Irfan Khan. Huh. Anyway, what is the implied reader of this Hindi medium? A lot of fathers will watch, even mothers will watch and think, yeah, I am also like this character. Or girls or boys will think, yeah, my father is like this, and they will identify with the situation. So every text that you see will have implied readers. Every successful text. Imagine my conducting a webinar or creating notes for net without thinking of the implied reader. I will write whatever I want. I will just express myself. I don't care what people want. Will I be a good businesswoman? Implied reader, in another way, has very great impact on business studies. You should know your customer. Think from the customer's point of view. Understand that cultural studies, post Second World War theory, is heavily oriented towards business and late capitalism. Cultural studies is all about business studies and late capitalism and the values of such a culture. So, implied reader means know your customer. If you are sitting casually at home, remember to stop your video. Okay. Then there is also a concept called implied author, which is not discussed by Wolfgang Iser. Implied author means that image of the author that we create, the reader creates from the text. When we read the text, we create the image of an author in our minds. That is called implied author. Now coming to Hans Robert Joss's theory, I told you he's a central figure in what is called Constance School of Reception Aesthetics. Here, literature is seen as a dialectical process of production and reception. The author is producing, the reader is receiving. Author producing, reader receiving. Dialectical process, the conflict between the author's reception, author's production, and reader's reception is there. And Hans Robert Joss talked about a horizon of expectations. That was a theory taken from hermeneutics, I think. We will talk about it at the end also. It is a philosophical idea. He did not coin the term horizon of expectations. When you read a book or when you attend a webinar, you have a horizon of expectations. You expect, okay, webinar will be like this. She will discuss these theories in this manner, etc. You will, expect. When you watch a movie at the present time, you have some expectations. There will be some young people, or there will be some family issue. There will be career issues. There will be gender issues. Like this, there will be class issues. Like this, you have expectations. So the reader has a certain preconceived idea of what to expect from the text. That is what is called horizon of expectations. When you read reader response criticism establishes the horizon of expectations in every period. When you read Shakespeare, you kind of know what is the horizon of expectations that the readers had at that time. When you read 19th century literature, you know what is the horizon of expectations that people had at that time. Reception theory is the version of reader response criticism that emphasizes the reader's reception of the text, how the reader is receiving the text. Our cultural studies theorist, Stuart Hall, was also a very major exponent of reception aesthetics, how the reader receives. Yesterday, we talked about it. Circuit of culture and model of communication, both are similar. The focus is on how the reader negotiates with the text, opposes the text. In the classroom, we are all teachers or going to be teachers. We know that in the classroom, the teacher a good teacher will continuously change his or her strategies based on the students' responses. Sometimes the students are feeling sleepy and lethargic, and then you have to do something to energize them. Sometimes they are looking very confused. Their faces are screwed up like this, and it looks like they don't understand. And then you have to explain more. Sometimes you realize that the students need some background information, or sometimes you just realize that the students need a break. So the students negotiate with you. Their response, their opposition to the text constantly makes the text different. It changes the text. The meaning of the text is therefore not inherent in the text according to reception aesthetics. It is completely based on the relationship of the text and the reader. It is the reader's responses and negotiations that create the text. That is what reception aesthetics says. Now, I explained, I wanted to explain reception aesthetics on the basis of snakes and ladders again. The reader is negotiating and opposing, and the author is also, giving intentional acts, etc. The reader's playing the game is what creates the game. If the reader doesn't play the game, you can't create the game. Another game that I suddenly realized that I should mention is you draw columns and rows on the floor, and you throw stones and you jump from one column to the other. Don't you do that? What is it called? You can apply that in Wolfgang Iser's theory. Yeah, I'm just noting that before I forget. So it is the readers playing the game that creates the game. Another example I can give for this is how the reader creates the game. Another example I can give is ready-made paisam. I showed you that picture one day already. Ready-made paisam. There are do-it-yourself knitting, or what is it? Anchor, do-it-yourself embroidery, or ready-made paisam. How does it? It gives a framework, but within that you have to stitch. The reader has to stitch. Only then it becomes a text. The text is half made by the writer or the author. The remaining text has to be made by the reader. Do-it-yourself embroidery. Haven't you seen it? Anchor or some company brings out. There will be a cloth, and they will have marked everything. They will give you the picture, and then you have to take the needle and thread and sew it yourself. The text is half made when you get it, and you actually make the picture, make the embroidery. Next theorist we are talking about is David Bleich. Before I come to David Bleich, before I come to the picture, let me talk about David Bleich. If you remember at the beginning, I said David Bleich employed subjective criticism. His theory is called subjective criticism. He always worked in the classroom. He worked with students in the classroom, and he believed that the villain in modern education is the pretension that there is something called objective knowledge. David Bleich wrote this in the famous book, Subjective Criticism. He said that the villain in modern education is the belief that there is something called objective knowledge. David Bleich says there is no objective knowledge or objective paradigm, as he called it. There is only the subjective paradigm. And we need to reassert the subjective paradigm in education. We have to let people interpret on their own, come to terms with knowledge on their own. There is nothing that is common to everybody. Everybody does not perceive the same things the same way. A text cannot be read in the same way by everybody. And David Bleich said that reading, therefore, is a subjective process. That means the distinctive personality of the psychology of the reader is important. The individual reader is important. David Bleich said that reading takes place in stages. The first stage is your subjective response. When you see a text, subjectively you respond. Let me explain with this. When you read a text, subjectively you respond. It is modern art. I have never seen this before. It is modern art. It is about, I don't know, people, horse, people and animals, relationship between people and animals. That is my subjective response. The second stage is what he calls re-symbolization. The first thoughts that you got or the first perspective acts that you did when you did the first stage of reading, That you explain in the second stage. Imagine everybody, all students are given this picture in the classroom, painting in the classroom. Everybody thinks, okay, this is about people and horses. Then in the stage of re-symbolization, I'm trying to explain. It is not a horse that is galloping. It looks like it is crying. This woman also looks like she is crying. It is not a picture of happiness. I'm explaining what I'm seeing. People and horses are there. It is not a picture of happiness. This man is also like crying. Oh, somebody is lying on the floor, and legs, hands. It looks like dismembered bodies. Is it about some trauma or death? Probably death. Everybody dies, mortality. Is that the meaning? So in the second stage, I'm explaining, this is called re-symbolization. It is the conceptualization of symbolized objects and processes in terms of my subjective interpretation. So symbolized objects, look at this symbol, the cry of this woman and the cry of the horse become for me a symbol for death. The third stage is negotiation. Individual representations or interpretations are negotiated within communities. When I talk to my neighbors, they will say probably war. I feel like war, where people, animals, everybody are running and they are all being killed. And then somebody says, this looks like modern art. So probably First World War, early 20th century, and it looks a lot like Picasso or, avant-garde. So ultimately, the students think, okay, this is about war, a painting about war. In the third stage, with negotiation, you reach the conclusions. This is actually a painting by Picasso called Guernica, and which is about the bombing of a town or a village in Spain. So that is David Bleich's theory. I will give another example how my father watched, that is Norman Holland's theory. I'm explaining Norman Holland's theory first. Norman Holland did a psychoanalytic analysis of reading, psychoanalytic approach to reading he had. He said that reading, the act of reading, is an encounter between the author's fantasies and the reader's fantasies. When T.S. Eliot writes The Wasteland, there are some fantasies of the author that created that text. They clash with, they meet with the reader's fantasies. When I read The Wasteland, my fantasies meet with T.S. Eliot's fantasies. Similarly, in Tempest, in the case of Tempest, Shakespeare imagined being a Superman. He is the great man who rules over all the other writers and playwrights in that era. He created himself as a Prospero. His own fantasies are there in The Tempest. When I read The Tempest, my post-colonial fantasies of how white people always rule over black people, etc., and my fantasies meet Shakespeare's fantasies and create all the meanings that I get out of the text. Example I've given is, when I was a child, I remember very clearly from my childhood this incident. All the family, my father, mother, me, my brother, we were all watching a movie where a son and a daughter are abandoning their old father. My father watched this very touching movie. It was a very good movie. This very touching movie he watched, and he started to cry a little bit. And I said, we were children in school going age, high school or something. And I said, what happened? Why are you crying? And he said, this will happen to me also. In my old age, you will abandon me also. I said, what? What are you saying? He was deeply engrossed in the act of watching the movie, and his fantasies and fears of whether he will also be abandoned met with the fantasies of the author. And that is how he read the text. I can't forget it because I was so touched. I said, of course, I will never abandon you. What do you mean? And of course, he laughed over it. But at that moment of reading, his fantasies met the author's fantasies. So that I thought I remembered it, and I thought I'll tell you that. No, before I come to this, Norman Holland talked about cognitive theory of reading, cognition, understanding. And he talked about cognitive poetics and cognitive linguistics. All right. So that is about Norman Holland. Now we have to talk about Harold Bloom's theory. Harold Bloom, everybody knows, is the author of Map of Misreading is by Harold Bloom. I said Wolfgang, I said earlier. I made a mistake. Map of Misreading is Harold Bloom. I made a mistake earlier. Harold Bloom is a Yale critic, and he was part of the Yale school of deconstructionists. Jeffrey Hartman, Paul Deman, Harold Bloom were all professors there. He applied psychoanalytic concepts, especially Freud's theory of defense mechanisms, and developed the theory of anxiety of influence. Anxiety of influence is related to T.S. Eliot in a way, because T.S. Eliot presented influence as a positive thing. T.S. Eliot presented in tradition and in individual talent, influence of predecessors. He famously said, not only the pastness of the past, but also its presence, because the past acts through the present writer. Influence is a positive thing. But for Harold Bloom, influence is a negative thing that you try to repudiate. In Anxiety of Influence, he talks about how the later writers like Shakespeare repudiated the influence of earlier writers like Marlowe. There is a theory that Shakespeare deliberately tried to overcome the influence of Marlowe. Okay? And anxiety of influence is how the reader negotiates with the text in order to change the text and overcome the influence. The later writer, FEB, or later writer, EHEB, or later writer, or the belated poet does not want people to think that he's influenced by the former writers. He wants to repudiate that influence. He wants to assert his independence. So he tries to change the text in significant ways so that it will not look like the earlier writer's text. Did you understand? The belated poet, therefore, says Harold Bloom, has an Oedipal relationship with the precursor. A love-hate relationship, like Sylvia Plath and her father. She loves her father. She cannot live without his memory, but she hates his memory. Like that, Shakespeare cannot fully overcome the influence of the predecessor Marlowe or any FEB or belated poet or new poet cannot overcome the influence of the precursor, because what the later poet can do is only a misreading or misprision of the former poets. Every reading is an act of misreading. All you can do is a misreading of the former poet. Did you understand? I will explain with an example. What is this? These are some of the salwar kameezes that I made out of my mother's saris. Okay. Did you believe it? My mother gave me a lot of saris. These are all my mother's saris. Beautiful, aren't they? She gave me a lot of saris and I began wearing them in my youth. Remember when we were young, the first saris we wore were sometimes our mother's saris. And when I wore the sari when I was 18 years old and went to my college, everybody asked, "Oh, are you wearing your mother's sari?" I did not like that. I wanted to overcome the influence. So I completely changed the sari, stitched new things out of it, added some zari, made these salwar kameezes. Like that, the new writer changes the old writer's ideas and influence and makes something new out of it. There are many terms that our Harold Bloom gave for this kind of revision. Revisionary ratios, they are called. A revisionary ratio is a swerve away from the precursor as a corrective movement. There are 6 ways in which you can revise the precursor's influence or text. Clinamen, tessera, kenosis, demonization, astasis, apophrates. So many Hebrew words. I'm not going to explain. You can read online. Okay? I can't explain everything in 2 hours. So Harold Bloom also talked about how the FEB or the later writer misreads the earlier writers. If you completely change your text so that the influence is not visible, then it is a strong misreading. If the influence of the precursor is seen, continues to be visible in the FEB's work, then it is a weak misreading. FEB is the later writer, precursor is a former writer. Did you understand? Next, we come to Stanley Fish. This is Lolita. Okay, Lolita. Before I don't want you to come to Lolita too soon. Stanley Fish talks about the reader in different ways. I know everybody is familiar with, is there a text in this class? His book, as well as there is another important book that revolutionized reader response criticism, that is Surprised by Sin, the reader in Paradise Lost. Surprised by Sin, the reader in Paradise Lost, where he takes a reader response approach to Paradise Lost. Stanley Fish talked about the informed reader. The informed reader has a mature grasp over language. He's able to deal with literary conventions and is able to make appropriate choices about understanding the text. He is able to deal with the text in a very mature manner. Stanley Fish, I already told you at the beginning, talked about two concepts. That is, first was affective stylistics. He gave up the idea of affective stylistics later and introduced the concept of interpretive communities. Affective stylistics means the necessary reliance of the critic upon how the text affects the critic. Affective stylistics means the looking at how the affective responses of the critic are happening to the stylistic elements of the text. Once more, the text has stylistic elements. The text has some stylistic elements. Imagine that this is the text. This is the text. The text has some stylistic elements. Okay, it has a cover like this. It has this shape. It is this thick. It has camera, etc. And these stylistic elements of the text create in me an effect. I am affected by the text. For example, the wasteland. How am I affected by the wastelands? And how am I affected by a conventional text like Hamlet or an earlier text like Hamlet? How the Hamlet affects me, how the play Hamlet affects me is different from how the wasteland affects me, isn't it? So reading the text based on the affective responses of the critic, based on how the critic is affected by the stylistic elements of the text, that is called affective stylistics. Easy to understand. Here, Stanley Fish is showing that the work and its result are one and the same thing. The work and its effect are one and the same thing. The work has a effect upon me. Let me take the work again. The work has an effect upon me. And what matters here is not the work, but the effect that it has upon me. The effect is what is being read here. Did you understand? Interpretive communities was a later concept that he introduced in his There a Text in This Class, 1980 book, very famous book. There he says that readers share a particular reading strategy. For example, take a text called A. Take a text called A. That text, when it is read by all Malayalis, may be different from the same text read by Germans. The text that is read by doctors, when the same text is read by lawyers, it might have some difference. How is it possible? Lolita. Lolita is a very powerful, controversial text. Very wonderful text. There is a middle-aged man in love with a small girl. And actually, this man is a pedophile, which is very wrong. And he is mentally insane. The whole book is about the pedophilic longings of this man, written from the memoirs that he wrote from a psychiatric asylum. when he was in a psychiatric asylum. Did you understand? This novel, suppose, there are so many controversial elements in this novel, obviously. When this novel is read by lawyers, they might look at the criminality of it. When this novel is read by psychiatrists, they might look at the psychiatric aspects of it. When it is read by mothers of teenage girls, they will have a completely different understanding of it. Even if they are all loving the text for its aesthetic value, in the back of their mind, they're all belonging to one interpretive community or the other. So Indians who read the text from a very conservative point of view might see it differently from Americans who read the text from a very liberated point of view. So what our profession is, what our age is, what our gender is, what our class is, what our region is, culture is, etc., will make us belong to certain interpretive communities. Members of one community will share a particular reading strategy, said Stanley Fish. This is based on the idea of social constructionism of language or reality. Everything that we understand as reality or knowledge, not language, knowledge, are all socially constructed. So the communal strategies of a reading community creates what is called the objective reality of the text. We are all students of English literature. When all of us read a text, we will look for post-colonial elements or feminist elements or historiography, things like that, right? Whereas people belonging to some other discipline may not look at these elements at all. So the idea of interpretive communities has great significance in cultural studies. Now I'm going to talk about things that I don't know very much. E.D. Hirsch, wait a minute. E.D. Hirsch was a philosopher and reader response theorist. And he re-established, I wanted to mention him here because he is different from all the others that we talked about. He is different because for the first time, he reasserts the importance of the author. E.D. Hirsch, Hirsch. Sorry, this is a... Yeah. E.D. Hirsch reasserts the importance of the author. And in his validity of interpretation, he distinguishes between a text's meaning and a text's significance. He has also written a major book on popular culture called Cultural Literacy. E.D. Hirsch has written a book on cultural literacy. Now we come to phenomenology. Phenomenology is the study of phenomena. Remember, Immanuel Kant talked about phenomena and noumena. In this world, everything can be divided into phenomena, or that which we can experience with our senses. Noumena is what is beyond our senses. We can't experience it. Some things are noumena. We can't know it. We can't see it. They are beyond us. For example, the idea of God as an example. Now, this gave a lot of problems to philosophers. It is like saying, I will teach you cultural studies. There are 10 things in cultural studies. I will teach you 5. They are important and easy. I will teach you. But there are 5 other things in cultural studies that you can never know. But they will ask in exams, etc. If I say that, it is a problem, right? You will constantly think, how will I learn that thing that I can never know? It is like God said to Adam and Eve, everything in this Garden of Eden you can use, but don't touch that one thing. You can never experience it. Immediately they wanted it. Like that, phenomena and noumena are there in the world. And philosophers always pondered, after Kant, they pondered on how to deal with noumena. Noumena is what you cannot know. Phenomenology is one of the solutions to the problem raised by Kant. And phenomenology says that everything in this world is phenomena. The appearance of things is all that you have. Our conscious experience from the subjective or first person point of view creates everything that we see as phenomena. All that we have is our experience. The knowledge that we get, the reality that we experience are all the result of our subjective first person experience. There is nothing beyond our experience. There is nothing that exists beyond our experience. It is actually a reductive approach. In Indian aesthetics, we always focus on what is beyond us. What we cannot experience is what we focus. In phenomenology and all these philosophies, we should actually relate it to Indian aesthetics a lot. I'm not a scholar. I do not know how to do that very well yet, but I'm learning. In Indian aesthetics, we always focus on what is beyond us. But in Western aesthetics or phenomenology, they are saying reality is just what we experience. There is nothing beyond our subjective experience. So this idea of phenomenology originally came in Husserl, Edmund Husserl, and later Heidiger and Hegel also took it up. Phenomenology influenced existentialism a lot. To explain phenomenology, I have put this example, the famous example of 4 people, their eyes are 5 people, 6 people. Their eyes are tied and they are all looking at the elephant, not touching the elephant. The man who touches the spear says this is a, sorry, the tusk says this is a spear. The man who touches the trunk says it is a snake. The man who touches the ears says it is a fan. And the man who touches the belly of the elephant says it is a wall. The leg, it is a tree. And this is a rope. Reality is incomplete. We can't experience reality in its entirety. We can only experience our subjective version of reality. That is phenomenology. Edmund Husserl was the father of phenomenology, and his theory is called Transcendental Phenomenology. I'm not an expert, I'm telling you, but I'll tell you what I understand. Phenomenology, according to Husserl, describes experience based on insights. It is the science of our consciousness itself. The science of our consciousness. And there are 2 terms associated with phenomenology here. One is bracketing. The other is phenomenological reduction. Bracketing and phenomenological reduction. Bracketing means suspending our judgment about the natural world when we look at, suppose we go to a tourist spot. Suppose we go to a tourist spot. We will, how much they are charging for this ticket? They could have put some other trees instead. Why do they have these trees? They should cut down these trees and put some other trees. Like that, some mundane observations we might make about the place that we are visiting. That is our natural judgment. We have to suspend our natural judgment about the world when we are looking at the world or some reality. We have to suspend our natural judgment about the world, and we have to go into a kind of yogic meditation. We have to experience the world in a new way. That is called bracketing and phenomenological reduction. Bracketing is suspending the judgment about the world to focus on the analysis of experience. And phenomenological reduction means how the phenomenologist or the researcher suspends or brackets the natural perceptions in favor of a heightened reflection of the consciousness. Instead of indulging in mundane judgments of experience. Did you understand? When I talk about literature, I want you to phenomenologically reduce your experience to an intense understanding of literature and your consciousness. Other than that, don't think, okay, 300 rupees, it is worth, because we got a lot of material. Give PDF. Oh my God, that is not our expectation when a teacher teaches literature. When a teacher teaches literature, if you, at the end of it, you ask for PDF or, give some tips how to prepare for the exam, etc., there you are being judged by your natural judgments. Instead of that, forget all that. Forget the exam, forget marks, forget money, forget all these things. Experience literature intensely in your consciousness. Those characters, their traumas, their struggles, the universal element of all this, how it relates to our life, how these authors wrote all these works, how over many centuries they have been experienced, how experience or being or existence as a larger entity is controlling us, undergo such philosophical reflections. That is called phenomenological reduction. And Husserl also talked about intentionality. That means things are not just there, they're all constituted intentionally by our consciousness. Things are not just there, we are consciously, intentionally doing this, experiencing it, getting meanings out of it. Did you understand? When I give you passionately an intense experience of literature or theory, if you have not attended any lectures that I have given on literature, attend that also sometimes, because I suppose I'm a good lecturer of literature also. When I give an intense experience of literature, I'm giving you intentionally that experience, and you are taking it intentionally from me. In between, when I try to sell my products, that also I'm doing intentionally. And you are also taking it intentionally from me. Did you understand? So the consciousness, we are all there as consciousness. That is important in phenomenology. And next topic that I will briefly introduce is hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is the development and study of theories of interpretation and meaning of texts, originally taken from Bible interpretation. You take a text, a holy text. The holy text you read in certain ways. You have theories of how to read the text and interpret the text. Originally from Bible and also Greek reading. Heidiger and Gadamer are important figures. Heidiger and Gadamer. And when Gadamer talked about, let me first talk about Heidegger. Heidegger was a student of Husserl and a founder of phenomenology. From there, he inspired hermeneutics also. Heidegger advocated that hermeneutics should be anti-subjective and it should be located in history and language, not in consciousness, like Husserl pointed out. And he focused on a world that precedes us. Beyond us, beyond the subject, there is a world. That is a very important idea in Heidegger's Being and Time. The world that exists before us, the temporal world that predates us. And he talks about Dasein, D-A-S-E-I-N, or the being in the world, or existence or being in the world, or Dasein as opposite to being with others. So during the lockdown period, we experienced this. We experienced our social life when we were in the social media and we were missing our friends and all that. But we also got a lot of time to introspect, and we experienced sometimes being as itself. Human beings experience the world through who they are. There is something that is unique to each individual, that being part of the world out there, the being in the world out there. And interpretation relates to this experience of being. Literature is not the self-expression of the author or the reader, but literature is the expression of that experience of the world. And then Gadamer talked about reading and interpretation in books like Truth and Method, and what the text means to us in the present rather than what the text originally meant. That is what he talks about. We understand the text through our cultural and historical prejudices, and he rooted the text in what it means to us in this moment. Roman Ingat and Paul Ricoeur, Jürgen Habermas, etc. are also important figures in hermeneutics. and Schleiermacher, Dilte, etc. For a beginner, that is what I am, hermeneutics can be understood with what is called the hermeneutic loop. There is the whole, there are parts, the whole, and the parts are related through analysis and synthesis. You have to take the whole apart and analyze it. That is when it becomes part. Then you put the parts together and synthesize it. That is when it becomes whole. So how do you read the text? You take it apart, put it back together. Take it apart, put it back together. The science of interpretation and the act of reading, how you read the text, that is called hermeneutic loop. And there is another important term in Gadamer, as I told you, horizon of understanding. Hans Robert Yoss also used it later. Horizon of understanding means what? When we try to understand something new, the first thing that we have to realize is that we don't approach that thing from some neutral vantage point. We are not just standing at some neutral position and approaching the new thing. That is not how it is. But we have a very subjective and particular perspective about that thing. I'm approaching a text, a movie, or a novel. I've bought a new novel. I'm not just neutrally approaching it objectively. I have some subjective expectations of the text. This personal expectation is what we call horizon of understanding. Our horizon of understanding is created by our knowledge, by our culture, by our experience of history, our experience of other texts, and all the ways in which we make sense of the world around us. The many ways in which we make sense of the world around us. That is what gives us our horizon of expectations. That brings us to the discussion of reader response, criticism. Now, in half an hour or 45 minutes, I will talk to you about eco-criticism. Wow. The world as nature, or the nature as text. Reading the text. Everybody might know that eco-criticism originated as a movement or a theory from the Ecocriticism Reader by Cheryl Glotfelty and Harold Frum. Ecocriticism Reader is a very momentous moment in the beginning of ecocriticism. But before that, in the 1960s itself, Rachel Carson had written Silent Spring, and a lot of people had started to talk about ecology and nature and the importance to talk about it in the purview of culture. And Cheryl Glotfelty and Harold Frum famously defined ecocriticism as the study of the relationship between literature and the physical environment. The relationship between the physical environment and literature. That is what Cheryl Glotfelty and Harold Frum called ecocriticism. One of the goals of ecocriticism was to get dignity for an undervalued genre called nature writing. From the Romanticism, period of Romanticism, we know nature writing existed and people did not really treat it as a genre. So eco-criticism tried to bring some dignity to the genre of eco-criticism, nature writing. At first, it rose in the 1970s as a movement in the meetings of the Western Literature Association. Eco-criticism became a movement in the Western Literature Association. It was a group of people with interest in the American West and literature based on the American West. Remember, in America, from the 17th century or 18th century onwards, people were talking about the frontier. The frontier is that imaginary line that separates imagine this is the American continent, the imaginary line that separates the eastern settlements from my side, it is here, from your side, it is east, this is east. Eastern settlements, here is Europe, and all the settlers came and settled down in this part of America. And this side of America, the western side, was forest. And there is an imaginary line separating the eastern settlements from the western forests. And that line is called the frontier. And there is a frontier hypothesis that came into being in the 20th century, I think. The recession of the frontier when it moves west, that means progress of America. That means the white settlements are growing and America is growing. So developing. So the frontier literature there was. Frontier gave rise to literature. And what is beyond the frontier is American West. And the literature of the American West, that is what was first studied in eco-criticism. There was another very major moment in eco-criticism, the publication of the book Literature and Ecology, an Experiment in Eco-Criticism by William Ruckert. William Ruckert wrote the famous book and coined the term eco-criticism. Not coined, he brought the term eco-criticism back to focus. That was in 1978. Now, the word eco-criticism derives from the words eco or ecology. In Greek, it means household, and criticism, which derives from the Greek word named judge. And the field of eco-criticism has become a major literary theoretical approach. And also, it has many implications in cultural studies. Eco-criticism has given way to many new approaches within cultural studies and environmental humanities. Eco-criticism it is impossible to talk about eco-criticism without talking about Romanticism and Transcendentalism. Let me just give you an overview of that briefly. When I feel decreasing energy and collapse like loss of energy, I drink some hot tea or black tea or something with honey. Honey gives instant energy. It's very good. If you put lemon also, wonderful. Okay, so that was about honey lemon tea. Coming back to Romanticism and Transcendentalism, as you know, nature writing began with Romanticism in the 19th century. We have a number of developments in the 19th century, such as Transcendentalism, that gave a lot of value to experiencing nature as it is. As you know, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote Nature in 1836, which inaugurated Transcendentalism. Henry David Thoreau went and lived near Walden Pond and experienced nature without the distraction of civilization. Many romantics in America and Europe wrote about the importance of a natural life, like the Scarlet Letter, for example, or William Wordsworth's poetry. William Wordsworth in poems like Expostulation and Reply or The Tables Turned talked about how important it is to learn from nature rather than learn from books. Emerson himself talked about the importance of learning from nature. He believed that in Nature, the article, the essay that he wrote, he says this, he believed that man should learn from directly from nature and experience the over soul of nature. Over soul is there like Paramatma, and we should experience it. We should not unnecessarily turn to books before we learn from nature. The greatest learning comes from nature. So all these ideas were there. There were also other transcendentalists like our Margaret Fuller. Margaret Fuller wrote Summer on the Lakes during 1843. That is a powerfully written journal of Fuller's encounter with the American landscape. And poems like Early Spring, Tinton Abbey, these are from lyrical ballads. Coleridge's expose of treatment of nature in a supernatural way in Kubla Khan or Ancient Mariner, etc., are very important ideas that should be remembered in this regard. Now, eco-criticism as a traditional approach has completely given way to new ideas. So I thought this being the last presentation of the day, I will give you some new ideas from cultural studies and related disciplines. that would help you to do research also. First, let me talk about deep ecology. It was in 1973 that the Norwegian philosopher Arne Naess, Naess, introduced the phrase new ecology. Deep ecology. Deep ecology should also be understood in relation to Rachel Carson's famous book, Silent Spring, where she talks about the interconnectedness of everything in nature and how nature is slowly becoming silent because of pesticides that we use, the ways in which we pollute the environment. So Rachel Carson talked about the interconnectedness of everything in this world. When we smoke cigarettes or use some chemicals as pesticides, etc., it is actually leading to the extinction of whole species. So many insects and birds and all kinds of things that living things that inhabit nature are being affected. So deep ecology argues that the natural world is a subtle balance. This is what Rachel Carson also shows. The natural world is a subtle balance of complex interrelationships between organisms in this universe, on this earth. And it is all evident within the ecosystem. So we should not live a life like this. It is when we lived a life like this throughout the 20th century that we created so many problems, so many natural calamities and diseases and extermination of species. So much happened. Now, at least now, we should go back to let nature heal. During the lockdown, you must have experienced this wonderful thing when all the cars and everything stopped and nature started, human beings stopped polluting during the national lockdown. Nature was coming back. When I sat in the early morning and did my work in my room, I was able to hear birds and at evenings, in evenings, I was able to hear crickets and insects. For years, I had not heard because somehow they were absent. And it is wonderful. It gives me goosebumps to think of how, just if only we give nature a chance, uh, nature will heal herself. So deep ecology is deeply rooted in that awareness that everything in nature is deeply interconnected. There is a philosophy behind deep ecology that addresses core principles of different environmental and green movements and advocates wilderness preservation, human population control, simple living. You will think, what is the relationship of all this with literature? So many literary works are there which are deeply rooted in these ideas. Knowingly or unknowingly, many literary works will be rooted in these ideas. There will be many characters who are, advocating these ideas. In research projects, you can talk about that. There is a shallow ecology movement, according to Naess, the man who started all this. The shallow ecology movement is the fight against pollution and resource depletion. It is not so philosophical, it is more practical. Shallow ecology movement is practically the fight against pollution and resource depletion, aiming at the health and affluence of people in the developed countries. The deep ecology movement, in contrast, endorses biospheric egalitarianism. It is much more deeper and philosophical. Biospheric egalitarianism, with the view that all living things alike have their own right in this universe. Did you understand? When you see insects or animals that, the small creatures that inside your houses or where they should not be, just remember that even when you have to sometimes kill them, remember that they have a right to live on this earth. If possible, just drive them out. If possible, just let them live and die on their own. Did you understand? Sometimes let the ants, you see some ants taking away some food item. Let them take it and go somewhere and live. Unless they are on your bed or causing trouble, let them live. Don't just use all the pesticides, all the hit and all the chemicals that we use, and the cleaning, Harpic, Lysol. Please use all these things in very minimal quantities, because they are such powerful chemicals that are continuously polluting the environment. So how is this philosophy ingrained in literature? How everything in this universe has a right to exist independent of their use. For God's sake, do not say a cow gives us milk, as if animals should be judged based on their use. Do not cut down trees in the backyard just because they have no use. It is a very wrong approach. Utilitarianism is against ecology. Deep ecology movement believes that living things, every living thing has a right to live independent of their usefulness. The deep ecologist respects this intrinsic value of life. And any literary work that shows these things are important, or films, for example. Deep ecology was inspired by Spinoza's metaphysics. You have heard of Spinoza, right? Spinoza was a very great philosopher from Europe. And deep ecology is a rejection of atomistic individualism, self-centeredness, atomistic individualism, self-centeredness, believing that you only matter, only you are important. When you give everybody whatever you have, when you share, when you freely let everybody use resources. Many people many of my students tell me, ma'am, your books are being photocopied and sold. I don't want people to photocopy my books and sell, because it's my intellectual property for which I have copyright. But philosophically looking at it, it is okay. Let people use. Let people share. It is inevitable. They will anyway share. So let people share. That sharing itself is a concept inspired by deep ecology. When you share your resources with other people, this is my river, other people should not use this water. This is my tree, other people should not use these mangoes. Even if I don't want them, let them rot. Crows are destroying all the mangoes. They should not eat mangoes. This is wrong. This is atomistic individualism, which is against deep ecology. Is that clear? There's another important concept called eco-philosophy. Eco-philosophy sees humanity as one with nature. In America especially, there was this nature versus culture binary opposition, which is very wrong. Eco-philosophy is humanity or the world is one with nature. Everything is part of nature. And we are an integral part of evolution. And eco-philosophy is related to ecosophy. Ecosophy is a portmanteau word of ecological philosophy. And ecosophy is a term coined by Felix Guattari. Remember, not Giles, it is pronounced Gilles. Gilles Deleuze and Felix Guattari, and Gilles Deleuze and Felix Guattari, we talked about them. They are important psychoanalytic philosophers. And ecosophy is their term. Ecosophy considers the world as sanctuary. That is a very central concept in ecosophy. The world as sanctuary. An alternative to the Newtonian view of the world as machine. In the age of enlightenment and industrial revolution, until recently, the world as machine worldview dominated. Now we think of the world as sanctuary, emphasizing and identifying the unique and precious and sacred nature of our planet. The 5 tenets of ecosophy, it would be good to know. One is that the world is a sanctuary. Second is we should have reverence for our life as our guiding value. Our lived experiences in this world, our social relations, our natural relations are all important. We should respect these experiences of our life. Third, Frugality, that means don't overspend. Use everything minimum. Anti-consumerist attitude it is. Consume more and more and more. That is what the market tries to make us do, the late capitalist market. Against that, ecosophy believes in frugality. Use everything minimum. Fourth, isn't it, is that spirituality and rationality do not exclude each other. They complement each other. That means even when you lead a rational life, practical, successful life, you can still be spiritual. You are living in the metropolises of the world, making money, leading a very successful professional life. Okay, that is wonderful. But that doesn't stop you from being spiritual. That doesn't stop you from being frugal. Even if you live a successful life like that, comfortable life like that, don't waste things, reuse things. Have a spiritual attitude to life and society and people. And lastly, in order to heal the planet, ecosophy believes that we should heal ourselves. Eco-philosophy believes that we should all heal ourselves. Take care of yourself. Self-care in a very spiritual way. Self-care does not mean consuming whatever you want, doing whatever you want, not caring for anybody else. It doesn't mean that. Help one another, heal the society that you live in, at the same time, heal yourself. Take care of yourself. Many times, the problems that we have are unnecessary problems created by our mind. Look at our positive, aspects of life. Look at what blessings we have in life. Why should you cry about your life and self-pity all the time and think yourself a victim? That is not necessary. Be happy, enjoy life, enjoy what you're doing, be part of nature, take time out to smell the flowers, enjoy even when some insects come in. Yesterday, a moth came into the house. The moth was flying everywhere. And I did not drive it out. Let it be there. If it wants, let it go out. We should feel like that, right? So enjoy, pay attention to that moth and the beauty of it. Pay attention to the flowers, take time to be yourself, to be one with nature. Look at greenery, look at the rain, look at the climate, experience it. In all these ways, you are healing yourself. You are taking care of yourself. Giving yourself time. So I cannot explain ecosophy without saying all these romantic emotional things. So bear with me. Now, coming back to another concept, that is, there is another important book that is related to this, Steps to an Ecology of Mind. Very important book written by Gregory Bateson. All these environmental approaches are very much integrally connected with post-humanism also. It is not what I am saying. All the theorists have integrated post-humanism and technology with all these new ideas. I am making it up. These are the new trends in theory. And then the next concept is that of bioregionalism. Understanding the earth, not in terms of nations, but in terms of bioregions. We have to stop understanding the world in terms of nations politically, but we have to understand in terms of bioregions. Bioregionalism began as a social critique of ecologically sustainable lifestyles. We need an ecologically sustainable lifestyle. Try to avoid using plastic and biodegradable material. When we go to the market shopping for clothes, most of our gym clothes, most of the fabric that we see are all merged with synthetic fabric and synthetic materials. They are all non-biodegradable. Try to use biodegradable materials as much as possible. Instead of buying plastic glasses and cups, buy ceramic, buy glass, buy natural objects. Natural, it is also fashionable these days. So don't use non-biodegradable material. For example, understand nature and understand regions as for their geographic peculiarity. So this understanding is there in bioregionalism. It began as a social critique of ecologically unsustainable lifestyles and evolved into an alternate way of life. Did you understand? When you build a house, the the region there, the landscape there will naturally be uh, with elevations and depressions and all that. Build a house that suits that landscape. Do not just fill the land with soil and flatten it, and do not just put tiles everywhere, outdoor tiles everywhere, etc. Understand the landscape and experience the soil, and all the things that you do should be suitable to the region. So bioregional mapping is being done these days, taking into consideration the geology, that means the minerals, the soil composition, flora, fauna, inhabitation, etc. I know that you cannot do a research project on bioregionalism, but when you do a research project on literature that is rich in eco-critical material, you can apply this term there. You can bring in the insights of bioregionalism in a study that you do based on eco-critical ideas. Another important term in this regard is green studies. Remember, again, bioregionalism, conventional planning transforms nature. Bioregional planning transforms society. We change if we have bioregional ideology. Now, green studies is another very important concept. Raymond Williams had written The Country and the City, which is also to be remembered in this regard. Green studies is contained in this book. The manifesto of green studies is The Green Studies Reader, From Romanticism to Ecocriticism by Lawrence Coupe. What Coupe, I don't know how, I guess that is how it is pronounced. Raymond Williams in Country and the City talked about the pastoral as more important than the urban. There is also another major book, Romantic Ecology, written by Jonathan Bates. Another term is cultural ecology. Cultural ecology is a study of human adaptations to social and physical environments. Even when you do a post-human dystopian novel, or a novel about people traveling to Mars, etc., you can apply principles of cultural ecology there. Cultural ecology is about human adaptation to social and physical environments. How human beings survive in a new environment. These ideas have a lot to do with anthropology also. Literature as Cultural Ecology is a very major book. Literature as Cultural Ecology, which studies the ways in which literature operates as a form of cultural ecology. Not only do literary works have elements of cultural ecology, but this book looks at literature itself as a form of cultural ecology. Now, the next important idea is ecofeminism. Ecofeminism is associated with the famous Chipko movement of the early 1970s. You must have heard of Sundarlal Bahuguna, who practiced tree hugging, and he inspired the villagers to protest against deforestation. Chipko movement. Then there was the Green Belt movement in Kenya. Women's participation was there in anti-nuclear, pro-environment movements, many of them in the West in the 1970s and 80s. All these are related to ecofeminism. Ecofeminism looks at anthropocentrism and looks at how women's oppression can be compared to the exploitation of nature. Very influential texts are Women and Nature by Susan Griffin. Women and Nature. Then there is The Death of Nature by Carolyn Merchant. Then Gynecology by Mary Daly, etc. In India, we have a very important figure in ecofeminism, that is Vandana Shiva. Ecofeminism is a book that she has written along with Maria Mais, pondering on human science and its acceptance as a universal and value-free system. We accept science blindly, and it is important to critique science and to move against, the value-free nature of science. American ecofeminist Charlene Spratnak has also contributed significantly. Charlene, Charlene, Spratnak. These ecofeminists combine political theory, history, environmentalism and activism, etc., with feminism and ecological concerns. There are various kinds of ecofeminism, like materialist or socialist ecofeminism, spiritual ecofeminism, third world ecofeminism or environmentalism, etc. Today, the concept of green politics is very famous. Green politics is very famous, and it can be related to ecofeminism. Yes. And you should look up, first, I will give you some terms that I don't know very well. Environmental ideologies. Our own Ramachandra Guha, very famous philosopher from India today, is a very important figure in environmental ideologies. You can apply that principle. There are lots of work happening in Africa also related to this. Ecological conflict is another term that if you explore, you will come to other ideas. There are agroecology movements in Mexico and Latin America. Agroecology movements. We also talk about socio-ecological histories. So, socio-ecological histories. Ecological studies are deeply related to ethnicity studies and indigeneity, and how indigenous people are related to environmental issues and land and things like that. Related to these, there are also some other terms like green anarchism. Then vegan studies. I put this picture to show you vegan studies. People are doing research on vegan studies these days in relation to cultural studies. It began in the West, vegans, but today there are vegans in India also, it seems. Among the metropolitan people largely, but all sections of people are becoming more and more aware of these issues. And also we have animal studies. Important books in animal studies I have put here. Human animal studies. Then animals and their people. It's a series, the first one. Animal subjects and animalities. That was just a quick overview of a lot of issues involved in eco-criticism. And we have come to the end of the presentation. I am very punctual today. I hope you have all benefited from these discussions. I know there have been lots of pitfalls. For the first 4 or 5 days, there was a lot of rain, and luckily it is now over. There was power disruption, and there was also disruption because of our own ignorance of technology and things like that. I did not know how to deal with muting you and things like that, and YouTube link and everything got disrupted. Sorry for all that. I was also ill, which is also beyond me. I had a very draining problem for for like 2 weeks. So I was not in my best, which has affected my presentation actually, because I was not able to do intense studying in the first few days before the webinar started. There was another webinar on post theories, and there were 5 days or something after that I wanted to study all these things once more and perfect the presentations. That is how I do. Put all the examples from everyday life. But in those days also I was ill, and I was kind of taking rest and all that. So I couldn't do justice, even though you're all happy. I'm not fully happy because I could have done better. There will be more webinars coming up. If you want to join us, please join. I cannot give everything for free. Many people ask me for concession and free and all that. It is not because I want to be rich, because there is a machinery at work here. Many people are working with me, and I have to take care of them, and bills to be paid and all that. So some nominal charge only we will have. We won't charge very high for any webinar or anything. I am there with you to help you build your careers if you need me. And I am getting some questions. There are some questions that are remaining from yesterday that I will quickly answer. Can WhatsApp be called a part of popular culture today? Very much. Social media is a part of popular culture. Can we consider characters like Heathcliff as part of trauma studies? Certainly, we can consider. We can identify characters undergoing trauma and study them. What are the research areas in communication studies and cultural studies? All the topics terms that I mentioned are all research areas. The earlier webinar on post discourses was completely on research. I discussed like 50 to 60 research areas and topics. Please do one thing, follow what I'm doing, and please believe me, every activity that we do will be useful for you. So if you want to know all these things, if you keep track of our future webinars and courses, etc., it will be useful. Honestly, upon my word, I'm putting my hand on my heart and telling you this. My intention is not to cheat you and make money, but for whatever expense we have on this, you have to share the expense, right? So together we will organize all these things. When you pay and we organize, and we will cover all these areas. I cannot suddenly tell you 50 topics, but they're all being said in our webinar. Also, we said it in future webinars. Also, we'll do it. You are interested in doing postdoctoral research in children's or any research in children's literature. You can take a look at how children are represented in literature and various aspects, children as readers, or anything that we discussed in the course of these webinars. Look at all these terms, apply these terms, and identify some areas. It is a wonderful area. Now, today's questions. Please organize a webinar on literary stylistics study. I don't know very much about it. I will have to study and do a webinar. We need a webinar on literary criticism, especially modern criticism. Yeah, I know that. We will try to do that. Setu Lakshmi is my content developer and research associate in all these webinars. She will make the content and we'll learn together and we'll do that. Now, I am stopping screen share, and the boxing ring is yours now. Please, at least some of your responses, let us hear for whatever has happened these days. Whoever is attending, Geetu Ji is saying that she attended the previous webinar. Thank you, Geetu Ji and Geetu. And we had a lot of research topics discussed there. Yeah. So is Shashikant Suryavanshi or somebody taking over to organize the Setu Lakshmi? Do you have the names of the people who would like to give their responses? Yes, we are all becoming. We are all in a state of becoming. Me too, you too. I'm stopping my talk. You can talk now. Dr. Asha and Rub says, Madam, I wish to give feedback. Can you please unmute yourself and start talking, Dr. Asha? About access to last webinar, yeah, I have recorded videos and audios. I might be able to give it to you. I will decide here and let you know. We can all meet. I will, you know, after COVID, I am also willing to come and speak at your places. Dr. Asha, can you start speaking?
आता येते सर. आता येते.
नेमकं काय बोलायचं क्लोजिंगचं?
While they get ready, I'll quickly answer this question. Existentialism is not a literary theory. That is why Peter Barry and Pramod K. Nair do not talk about it.
क्लोजिंग नाही,
Existentialism
तुमचा
is
फीडबॅक.
a more of a philosophy. It is considered a philosophy. It is not a literary theory. What is existentialism needs some time for discussion. So I don't think I can do that here. Or probably I will put an audio in our Telegram group. You can remind me, Nahela, if I forget. I will put an audio in the Telegram group. Why is nobody speaking? So, either Dr. Asha or Shashikant organize this and start speaking and offering feedback.
See, here is my friend and colleague who want to give his feedback. Actually, he's Mr. Gajanan Bonsale. He works with me, and he is the major organizer from our side. So I will ask Gajanan sir, please speak about the webinar.
Very good afternoon to all. My name is Gajanan Bonsale. I'm very thankful to have such a wonderful webinar on literary critical theories. And I remember ma'am's one example. She talked about humanism, structuralism, and formalism. The example she gave, she said, which is very silly, but I say that this example is very, very interesting and very easy to remember at any time. She talked about three girls getting married, and obviously it's how the people are getting information about them. So how to do the difference among humanism, structuralism, and formalism. So I really, inspired to get into the real life examples and relate the theories with those examples. I really thanks to ma'am, and definitely such kind of examples would inspire us to use the literary critical theories in our daily life. Thank you very much, ma'am, for giving such kind of examples and making understand us contemporary critical theories. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Asha, and after that, Parveen. They both say they wish to speak. And Swami
Even me
Shrinaja.
too, ma'am.
Okay. Can we first listen to Dr. Asha? She said first. Dr. Asha and Rab.
Today we are going to listen. I think man finished till food on my page. Yes, that is page number 6 is over.
Dr. Asha doesn't seem to be online or listening. Parveen Hussain, please.
On my plate is over. Page 6 is done. Or yes or no, please answer.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Please speak.
Yeah, ma'am. I feel proud. I mean, I feel privileged for attending your session. It was really awesome, and I have learned quite a lot from your session, ma'am. I'm a research scholar, and my thesis is on women writings. So I just wanted to know something about social history.
Okay, okay. Now listen, we are going to start. Now first I will do one recap.
Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Are you asking me a question?
Yeah.
Well, social history is the history of society. Most of the things we talked about had to deal with social history. If you have a question, can you please ask in the Telegram group now, because my time is up.
Yeah.
The questions are addressed in the group.
I had sent the question on your WhatsApp number, but I did not get any response from there.
I will do it later because there are so many questions I had to choose. That is.
Okay, okay, ma'am. But it was a really learning session. I'm really happy for that. I have started doing research on many such critical theories, and I'm also looking forward to attend many such sessions of yours, ma'am. And I have bought some books also online, and I am looking forward to buy some more. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was really a learning session. I'm really glad.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Who is next?
Hello, ma'am.
Please speak.
Ma'am. I'm Swami Srinija. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I'm from Hyderabad, Manu University, and I have many friends from Kerala, and one of my teacher is from also Kerala, Muhammad Aslam. He was your student, ma'am, and I heard about your test very much. And since 2 years, I'm using your encyclopedia, and it is very helpful for me, ma'am. I'm getting very much type of results from that encyclopedia, and I'm very fortunate to have your lecture, ma'am.
Thank you very much. We took at least 10 years to make the encyclopedia. It's a result of 10 years work.
Yes, ma'am.
I certainly bring out very soon.
Yes, I have your encyclopedia of 17 books, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, and that encyclopedia is very useful and very informative, ma'am. It is very deep, full, and it explains everything in deep, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was very awesome. I'm still now I'm using your encyclopedias.
When you become a teacher and throughout your career, you will be able to use.
Yes, ma'am. I will.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Who is speaking next?
Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am. Yeah, I'm Lata. I'm unique in this webinar. I think I'm neither your student or a professor in any of the institutions. I had some 8 years of experiences. Due to some family reasons, I was not able to work. Recently, I have got an opportunity to pursue my career. So before that, I want to clear UGC NET. I want to be a fully equipped person to be in that forum. I'm going through your encyclopedia books and all the YouTube lectures you have posted in YouTube. It's really useful, wonderful. Actually, I have lost in touch with my field for more than
Roti. How do we make roti? Come on, do roti, everybody. Everyone doing? Yeah, roti. Make roti. Yeah.
Ma'am, you got muted.
Hello. Yeah. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah.
It's so much useful. Actually, I have lost in touch with my field and teaching field for more than so many years. When I go through your books, and I used to underline all the important things in the books usually when I study. But if I take your book, I have to underline the whole book. Each and every word is important. So I have been listening to all your YouTube lectures. So it's so much useful. Hope I'll be represent any of the institutions soon.
Definitely you will pass. You should go on doing your awesome work.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
I'm sure you will definitely pass, because it is not about the books. It is about the passion with which you're reading them, which is evident.
Oh,
The books
thank you.
are wonderful because of your passion. For a
Oh.
person who's not interested, it won't be wonderful. So all the best to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. God bless you so much.
God bless you too, abundantly. Dr. Madhuri, are you there?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah, can you speak?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Dr. Madhuri. Actually, ma'am, I want to see you. That's why I have attended all these lectures, because actually, the reason is that, ma'am, because I'm a primary teacher, not in a lecturer in any college, and I have done my PhD in cultural studies, and I have cleared a set examination of Maharashtra's Savitribai Phule University only because of your study material that my friend of Pune gave me, and just it was too much useful for me, and only because of you I have cleared my set examination, because I'm not in that scenario of all these studies and all, because my field is totally different. But then also, just you are the true guru for me, and that's why I want to feel you. Just what I have studied from your study material, I want to listen you. I want to see you, and that's why I have attended your lectures. And Revan Halloli sir sent me the link, and I have here with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Who is speaking next?
Roti, all start making roti. Come on, roti, all make roti. Very good.
Ma'am, may I speak?
Yes.
Hi, ma'am. It's been such a privilege. I've attended two of your seminars right now. I was feeling quite lost when I attended the post-discourse seminar. And now I think I've gained so much insight. I'm really, really thankful to you, and the passion with which you speak, that makes me really happy, and it helps me rediscover my passion for my subject. I'm so thankful to you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great to know this.
May I speak, madam? May I speak,
May
madam?
I? Yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, madam. I am. Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
Truly heard. I am a sheikh.
Yeah.
Really, madam, you are great, and I want to say you something about that. Whenever we attend, firstly, I attended your lecture on YouTube. You said that there is a study of chronological literature. It is very necessary for in the concern of studying the literary literature. That sentence I heard firstly ever. I really enjoyed it. And another thing is that this webinar was not just on literary theory, but it was a clear depiction of literary theory. And I enjoyed very much, and the things which I run to everywhere to search that I got through this webinar. For that purpose, I am really thankful to you, madam, and organizations, and to all. And hope I will. I hope I will eagerly wait for your future webinars.
Thank you.
Because I want to enjoy a lot of through your motivation.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, madam.
Yeah. Dr. Asha, are you ready to speak?
Ma'am? Hello.
Yes, sir. Please speak.
Kishore sir speaks. Dr. Asha is still not audible. Kishore sir, please speak.
Dosa, idli, roti, dosa.
Can everybody other than the speakers please?
Ma'am, may I speak?
Yes.
I am Bleich from Aurangabad, Maharashtra.
Yes.
Ji. Hello, very good afternoon, Suryavanshi sir. Ma'am.
Good afternoon,
it
sir.
It was a great feast. much more attended to the critical theories, but idea about the new theory and criticism. Ma'am, session is fully ended. I'm happy and I could get theory, and I hope in future I will attend almost all the webinar present. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We have given you a feedback form here in the chat box. Please give us your feedback there. It will help us improve. And after you give feedback, you will get a certificate.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
Who did not enjoy?
Who is speaking next? Please speak.
Oh,
ma'am. Ma'am, I'm Suman. I'm from Delhi.
Okay.
I'm your first listener. I'm the first time I'm listening you, and I'm listening you patiently. Every minute I listen you. Sometimes due to destruction of network problem, I got disconnected from your content. But the next time I got you, I found that from beginning, from here you are teaching furthermore. It means there is no destruction in your content and between my understanding. It is a good understanding, ma'am. Very you had a good control over literature, theory, and philosophy. You thesis, antithesis, all become synthesis in you, ma'am. For further, ma'am, I don't have any such approach to anyone who can share these information regarding ki, there is such webinar. That's why I wrote a question ki where we can find this information that you are organizing such webinar. I would like to attend each and every for my knowledge, ma'am.
Everything that we do from now on will inform in your.
And thank you. Such a wonderful.
okay. Now sit down, please. Sit down. Now I want you all to.
Who is speaking next? Other than the speakers, will others please mute themselves?
Okay. Now listen. I would like to speak, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Please.
Yeah, good morning, ma'am. I'm Agnes Pinto from Goa. I did my UG in journalism. Right now, I'm pursuing my PG. But whatever examples you gave, I think I didn't have any background literature. The only background I have is reading novels and reading articles. But I could really connect to your webinar with all the examples you gave about the advertisements and all. Even after studying journalism for 3 years, we never looked at advertising the perspective you have given. So thank you very much. And your examples were like really lovely. I still remember those examples. And tomorrow when I have to explain literature to someone, I'll surely give those examples.
Okay.
Wonderful. I'm very glad that I've been of use. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Mr. Sabu Rajendran? Shreya? Who is speaking next?
Hello, am I audible to you?
Yes. Hello, Shreya.
Hello, ma'am. It was actually, first of all, let me thank the coordinators of this program as well as you, ma'am, for giving us 7 wonderful days of theory-packed days. It was really insightful. And I'm always an admirer of the way of your teaching. And the thing that surprised me the most that was you speak very mellifluously, like you speak as if you are seeing all of us in person. Like there is no barrier, because I know I have done a few online teaching classes, but then for me it is always difficult because I cannot see the students' response. So I'm always confused. Are they getting it? Am I being clear? but then you speak in a very cool manner that as if you are seeing all of us in person, and we too feel the same. Sitting here, I was taken aback to my seat at test at Trivandrum. That was so sweet of you, because whenever like I'm at the verge of distraction, you just say, oh, okay, listen here, okay, don't get distracted, drink something and stay active. You say all these words and then we feel, okay, I have to listen here. So that was really nice, and expecting more webinars, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Shreya. Thank you. Dr. Asha, if you want to speak, just start speaking. You are unmuted. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Shreya. I am so touched and happy. Dr. Asha, just start speaking.
Is there a other one?
She keeps saying she wants to speak, but she doesn't speak. I don't know why we don't hear her.
Actually, she is unable to unmute her.
No,
I
she
think
is unmuted.
line is not clear.
Dr.
Network
Asha is
problem.
not unmuted. Oh, okay, Bhagyalakshmi madam, please speak. Whoever wants to speak, may just speak now.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Bhagyalakshmi from Vilupuram district, ma'am, Tamil Nadu. I'm very much, what to say, you are really a unique person. I'm very much excited about you. I have never met such a person like you. You are a very, very energetic person, ma'am. Whatever you said is really understand very much easily to everyone. Being a second grade teacher, I have wasted my time, much of my time. This is the first time I'm hearing you. I got to know about you by Sir Ram Prasad sir, who was your student.
Yeah.
I get I was first, I was not known much of you. After that, after hearing the 7 days program, I was so much what to say. There is no words to explain you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I can understand.
Really, you are not a person to rate you, or the feedback they were given. What is the rating of you? That 5 is not the number to rate you, ma'am. You are beyond the limit.
Thank you very much, Bhagyalakshmi.
Yes, you are a gifted. Whatever the forthcoming sessions, you please inform me. I will be eager to listen you. I was so excited.
Thank you very much. Please don't make me cry. It's enough.
No, ma'am. This is a heartfully comments of mine.
I take this opportunity. Thank you, madam. I take this opportunity to tell you a few other things. It is actually wrong to, I'm telling everybody, it is wrong to just think that I did everything myself and I taught so much and I am somehow talented and different. I'm extremely thankful to a whole group of people who have kept me alive and afloat and gave me opportunity to study and teach you and all that. Apart from, of course, my family and other people in my life, behind this webinar itself, there are two strong pillars of support that I always have, that is Shashikant and Raven. They come everywhere I go and they just give me any kind of support from their heart, from their soul. I don't know how much to thank them. Most of you did not know me, and you came to know me through my students like this. My previous students, Shreya was speaking just now, Shashikant and Raven are my previous students. Many people working behind this program
Yes,
are
ma'am.
my previous students. They have
Kushala.
read my name and they've given me confidence.
Huh?
They have connected me to
Kuni?
the rest of the people in India. It is, without them, I'm nothing.
जरा हे
It is
चालू आहे,
not only
वेबिनार
my
चालू आहे तुम्हाला
talent, it is
डिपार्टमेंट
also my
पर्सनली भेटायचं आहे ना
support system that really works here. Setu Lakshmi has been helping me collect information, and she has done a lot of work to emotionally keep me, not only Setu Lakshmi, many of the research assistants who are attending the webinar, like Indu and Renuga, every day messaging me and giving me feedback and giving me motivation and inspiration. Just as much as I have inspired you, these people have inspired me also. And I have my office people, Swali and Saad, and very, very importantly, my colleague Ankit Sharma. I was like really completely gone after the previous webinar, and I was in a very bad condition, and they take care of me like a baby, I should say. Continuously giving me support and doing everything that is necessary in terms of public relations and talking to people on the phone. Raji, my office manager, is a wonderful person. There are so many people like this, who are continuously giving me ideas, keeping the whole system working. When in every webinar I get all the accolades, I get the praise, I feel guilty because it is not my doing. It is all of them together, all of you also, each and every one of you who attended the webinar and asked me questions. And it was such a motivation to see 600 people join this webinar and so many hundreds of people listening to me. It is I don't know, out of the world experience. I'm so
Really, we forgot our family also, ma'am. These 3 years, we forgot our family also. Really, hats off to you. Really, from my heart, I'm telling, really hats off to you. You are the madam.
It's okay, ma'am. It's okay. Please control yourself, please.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, please.
Okay.
I'm okay. Just speak. Asha ma'am, you finally came. Speak, please. I'm okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Asha ma'am is there?
Bhagya Lakshmi, you are the person who made me cry.
This is not crying, ma'am. This is the shedding of your, what to say, your happiness.
Yeah, true.
From your heart.
Sabu Rajendran sir, he wants to speak. Can you please speak?
Ma'am, may I speak?
Yeah.
Love you so much, ma'am. Me too, feeling so emotional. I couldn't control myself. And every day was a feast. All was abstract concepts for me because literary theories is not so easy to understand. Still not that much contented. So we need more and more from you. And whenever I feel distressed, disappointed, it's your books, your and works, Udemy, rapid fire, you keep on going. The fire in me never going diminish, ma'am, because of you only. You are the sole inspiration for me. Every time I feel disappointed, you came to me. I don't know how it's happening. So much, ma'am. Love you so much.
So emotional. Suma, thank you, Suma. Enough, don't cry. Sabu Rajendran sir, please come and speak and save us. We're not crying here.
Hi, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, for the last 3 months, I was strictly follow you, because for the last 3 months itself, I simply realizes the benefit by which I receive from your works, your YouTube videos, etc. and etc. For the past for 3-4 years, I'm just trying in a way hard to get net, but I can't. But I am a little bit, not little bit, I am in a far better way confident about my exam. It is because of your way, your passion, and the enthusiasm. I could say that I got it from you. And also 2 times I just met you at your center test at Patam. And I have your books, and strictly following that one, I'm sure I could break now, and I can't express my words because it is not a way of praising, but it is the truth, the real truth, I have to say. Then, and also the theoretical concepts, the way by which you are expressing, it's very heart touching, I can say, because it is not simply, it is simply narrated in a way of stories, and we can connect it. The way by which you are expressing the ideas are out of words, we can say. And I'm simply say it's very thankful to attend the webinar, and I joined your net course then, and also what's that, the rapid fire course. They are make us very alert and very lively with this without subject knowledge, I think say.
Thank you. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know how across the country people are just benefiting from the videos that I make. I'm so happy. I'm so glad you told me this. I'm very happy.
I suggested most of my friends to follow your books and also the webinar. I lately joined the webinar with the help of Stylistics. On the second day, because of my work, I just reached home the day after the first webinar day. I can't express my words because I lost that thoroughly. I can't attend it lively. It's a trouble for me. I later think so. And 2 of my friends also joined the webinar after my words, and they too also eager to see you, man. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, so one of the webinar you said that you are at Ernakulam, and though I'm in Trivandrum. Okay, and 3 of us are from Trivandrum. We want to meet you one more time.
We can easily meet anytime you want.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Angela, Teresa, would you like to speak now?
Yes, ma'am, I would like to speak. I can't thank you enough, ma'am, because I have wanted to attend your classes for nearly 3 years now. And every time something or the other would pop up, I finally decided to, take a break from my job and come and attend the class when the coronavirus pandemic broke out, and I couldn't make it. And I was brokenhearted because for the last 3 years, nearly 7 times I wrote the net, and I just for 1 or 2 marks every single time. And I always used to think maybe if I attended your classes, because I had classmates and friends who had the opportunity to attend your classes, they would, you just attend her classes, Angela, you would clear it. You would definitely clear it. And I missed it again this time, and I was brokenhearted. And that's when I found this on Facebook, and I was able to access this course. I can't thank you enough, ma'am. Literary theory has been something that has daunted me for a really long time, but the way you explain it is amazing. You are a blessing, ma'am, because there are very few people who can make such concepts which seem to go over my head so practical, so pragmatically to day-to-day life that I can connect to them and understand what they mean. In fact, my mom was listening on as I would attend your webinar every day, and she was like, I like this person. I don't know who she is, but she's an amazing, gifted teacher. So thank you, ma'am. I can't thank you enough. God will bless you 100-fold. And please do get well soon. And I hope you stay safe and in the pink of health. Thank you, ma'am.
Sandra Sebastian. Thank you very much, Angela.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes.
Maybe I'm the youngest one attending this webinar because I'm only a postgraduate student or a result awaiting MA student.
I'm younger than you.
I think that maybe for beginners like me, after attending this webinar, so I got a comprehensive view or a collective view about how all these theories are, or how all these theories are interconnected. And I also attended your previous webinar. So actually, me and my family together watched your webinar. So my whole family became great fans of you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this informative and thoughtful, thought-provoking sessions. Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you very much. Thank you. Gaurav Sengupta, please speak.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, so a very good afternoon, ma'am. I am from Assam, actually.
Oh, very good.
I would like to let you know about my introduction to you and my association to you. Actually, in the year 2018, when I was pursuing my post-graduation from Tejpur University, our professor, Dr. Shravani Biswas, she is the wife of Dr. Shivashis Biswas, if you know from
Yeah,
Assam.
I know them.
Yes, ma'am. So actually, she told us that if you need to pass NET, you should go to Kalyani madam, and that is the best place for you to get all the answers and qualify NET. But at that time, it was not possible for me to again cover the long distance and go and take coaching from you. But however, I wanted to pursue and qualify NET, and I really wanted to know you in person. So after that, when I came back in 2019 back to my home after completing my post graduation, I took a year gap and I ordered all your books and I studied them. I went through them, and I should say that people are definitely talking about the encyclopedia, but the QPAT series that you have prepared, the question pads, are equally important for us, because if we solve all these questions from the QPAT series, then the entire things that we have read, it becomes very easy for us to retain while we are answering the questions. So I thank you, madam, from the core of my heart for providing us with such extensive reading materials. Also for your continuous guidance throughout YouTube, as well as all the webinar series that has been that you are continuing now. And I wish to be a part of the upcoming webinar series as well. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much from the core of my heart.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. There are two things. One, somebody wants theory books. Here is the set. The link has been posted, and also people are saying don't remove the link from YouTube. Okay, we will not remove it. Dr. Asha.
Dr. Shobha is there. Shobha madam wants to speak.
Dr. Shobha, please speak. Please fill the feedback form, everyone, and you can get a certificate if you need it.
Dr. Reddy sir. Yogesh Reddy sir. I think he's not there.
Who is this? Yogesh Reddy, sir?
Yeah, yesterday he called me and he was telling, sir, I will speak.
Hello. Hello.
It's okay, Revan.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yes,
please
ma'am.
speak. Somebody is
Please,
trying
please.
to speak. Please speak.
Hello. Hello, madam.
Shobha.
It's Shobha here. Madam, it was a wonderful session, ma'am. So, yeah, ma'am. So, though I was teaching theories, but it was very interesting after came to know from you. And it made me very, very, I can't say, I'm not getting the words to explain, because my students were feeling theories are very difficult. Though I tried to give the examples which are related to day-to-day activities and all, but still that was there in their mind. But now I got some more examples where I can render it to them and make it very simplistic. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm so touched that so many teachers who are teaching theory also chose to attend this seminar, this webinar. And I'm so happy that
Yes,
I've been a
ma'am. Really, ma'am.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. I did not expect any teacher to actually attend this
Yes,
webinar,
ma'am.
but I'm so privileged that you trusted me.
No.
And
As soon as we heard your name, it made us to attend, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Shobha.
Hello. Can I speak, ma'am?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, please speak.
Yeah, this is Vani, ma'am, from Karnataka, Davangere.
Yes, please.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, I heard it from my students and as well as my colleague Tippeswamy and Megha Patil are my colleagues.
Yeah, please continue, ma'am. You.
They are my colleagues. Actually, I'm missing my slate. Though I have completed my MPhil, I couldn't attend my recruitment exam. So as I couldn't complete my slate. But it was actually, I could say, a tragedy on my part that I missed it within 2 marks once and 6 marks once and net with 20 marks. And I think now you are giving me a new insight into the complete English literature as well as the criticism.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Dr. Asha,
Hello?
but can you please wait for a minute? Please wait for
Am
a
I
minute.
audible, madam? Yes, madam. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello?
Please. Yes, somebody else was speaking though.
Yeah, hello. Can I continue,
Shall I
ma'am?
speak, madam?
Dr. Asha, can you wait
Hello.
for 1 minute? Somebody else is speaking.
Okay. At least I got it. My God. Yeah.
ma'am.
Please, I will.
Vani, please continue.
Yeah, ma'am. The one thing is, actually I was confused with what to study and what not to study, and and a family. It was difficult. Now, when I attended, now this is the second webinar that I am attending yours. I think, ma'am, I'm really thankful for you to cover in a nutshell the whole aspects of the net, and you have gave us the idea like which areas to cover, where to concentrate, and how to study. So we got a complete framework now. I'm really very thankful and grateful to you for this webinar. I'm interested in definitely interested in attending the webinars in future, and please do inform us,
Sure, we
ma'am.
will surely inform you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Madam, shall I talk?
Yes,
Madam,
please.
shall I talk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please talk, Dr. Asha.
Yeah, at last I am accessible. I'm in the college, and outside there is COVID testing. People have come, so running about here and there. Okay, but at least I got you now.
Yeah.
So am I visible, madam?
No, but it's
Okay.
okay. Just
I'm
speak.
sitting in one classroom.
Just speak. It's okay.
Okay, madam. So I'll start. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm starting my feedback, the impact of Dr. Kalyani's talk on me in a very informal way, because as all of us have realized now, we have become a family. We will share our academic activities with one another now onwards. Good afternoon to all. I'm Dr. Asha Rab, R-A-B-B, Associate Professor at Nehru College, Hubballi, Karnataka. At the very outset, I must, on behalf of, I think, more than 400 or 500 participants, thank the organizers, each and every member of the team from Maharashtra as well as Kerala, who deserve our tremendous appreciation for organizing this webinar and creating a family of academicians, and above all, introducing a deep academician and a thorough researcher in the person of Dr. Kalyani Vallat of TES and Bodhi Publishing House. On behalf of all, I especially thank each and every member of the organizing team. Thank you. On the second day of the webinar, when Kalyani madam told me, Asha ma'am, I know you. I was on seventh heaven. I felt very elated, especially for two reasons. First thing, she knows me. She, Kalyani madam, knows me. A researcher of her stature knows me. That made me happy. Second thing is how she knows me. How is it that she came to me? It is because of my writings, my reviews, my articles published in the journal Lit Crit, a reputed and highly academic journal. And she was there on the editorial committee. Why I'm mentioning this is when I was writing, I have written nearly 40 articles and 4 books. My colleagues and friends used to dishearten me by saying, why do you take so much trouble to write and publish? Who will read them? My God, I felt for a moment, is it so? Are they talking the truth? But no, they were wrong. Because now you know too that Kalyani madam knows me because of my writings. Secondly, not only that, my articles on disability studies, film studies like Gandhi in the film Water, Gandhi Giri in Lage Raho Munna Bhai, Widowhood in Prem Row are literally quoted by researchers in their thesis. What else do I need? The feeling I'm read, I'm referred made me contented. And my 2 books are received worldwide and you can find them in World Catalog. You can browse on Google by putting name Asha Rab, R-A-B-B. So what I wish to tell all participants is that whatever you do passionately, dedicatedly, sincerely is not going to be wasted. And all of you are lucky that you have Kalyani madam with you. What else do you need when you have a walking, living, easily accessible encyclopedia like Kalyani madam with you? Dr. Kalyani madam has been and will be a beacon light to all of us, an amazing researcher. The most significant part of her presentation is clarity. She has made so complicated theory so easy. How much she knows the theories, the theorists, their concepts, how easily and fluently they flow from her. It shows how much time, how much dedication she has invested in understanding and thereby presenting them. Really wonderful. Even after 20 years of my teaching UG and PG students, I still had my own inhibitions, even while uttering the name of the theories, I should say. I didn't feel confident to use the term postmodernism and post-structuralism in the blurb of my book. But after listening to her, I'm feeling I will confidently use these theorists and theories. So this clear understanding in inverted commas, I should say, of the theories came to me only because of listening to Dr. Kalyani Vallat madam. Thank you so much, madam. And I'm not going to miss even a word in her presentation on YouTube. I have already subscribed to her channel and I'm going to buy books written by her. And that too in a novel way. Somehow I couldn't complete my registration on Udemy, but I'm going to do that. And it's a treasure to me. And Dr. Kalyani Vallat is God sent to me. And I will listen to her first and then will dare to launch my next book. Therefore, it's my personal request to all young aspirant lecturers to join her courses, read her books. And you people are very lucky that you came across such a person of her stature at so early stage of your life. Listening to her must have wonderfully chiseled you. I'm feeling sad I couldn't come across her teaching long earlier, even though we were connected virtually, I should say. But now it is the beginning and there will be no end to this connection to her. I really liked the way down to earth, the humble way she presents such a great knowledge to all of us. Everybody can't have that. So madam, I'm really very much thankful to you and I'm going to listen to you every day. All other things I've already told by all others. Really it made us cry to you and us also. I was so desperate to talk and I was not audible to all of you, and I called Swaliha and I think he managed it. Thank you one and all, madam. Great hats off to you, madam. We'll be in touch with you, madam. I will send my books, and I really feel odd to ask you to go through it because you're so busy and you'll be preparing. But you told to send me. I'm really grateful to you, madam. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you. We'll be in touch, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Now
I
the
don't
people
know anything about you. I just have read your articles and reviewed them. And I just met you and talked to you for the first time here, and you have overwhelmed me with all this love.
No, madam, it is true. It is the truth, madam. Really, so much dedication. Really, so much of investment of time, and my God, really wonderful.
Thank
Though
you.
we know we can't speak so fluently and all, madam. Really, thank you so much, madam. Yes, madam. Thank you.
Is there
madam.
anybody left to speak? If there is anybody.
Yes, ma'am. Can I speak, madam?
Yes, please.
I am Raisa, madam, from Karnataka.
We know, ma'am. Yeah, you attended Hubli workshop.
Yes, madam. First time I saw there only Kalyani madam actually in Hubli.
Yeah.
I developed a lot of inspiration and motivation from her, and purchased almost many of her books, and almost cleared a set, sir. I have cleared set following her books. And when madam was not well, even I couldn't sleep the last night. If madam will speak or not, I was very much anxious because she's almost living and walking encyclopedia, sir. And the more I never used to study cultural studies, madam. During this NET and SET exams, I used to leave the topic. Because of you, now I'm in full Zoom to study those topics now. One small request, madam. Can you keep webinars later on the contemporary writers, the recent writers, whether it is post-colonial or from Indian writing section?
RABB.
On the contemporary writers.
RABB. RAB.
So I'm very thankful to Revan sir, Shashikant sir, and madam also. The most charming and very fantastic lady I ever seen, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am.
So one small request, sir, for Kalyani madam.
Yeah.
If she could keep later webinars on contemporary writers, sirs.
Yeah.
From different sections, from post-colonialism.
Yes, I will do that.
That will be very helpful, madam.
Yeah.
And please take care of you, madam. I couldn't sleep before when you're not.
I'm so sorry. I'm okay.
Yes, madam. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
It is 1 o'clock. People must be free and yes.
Ma'am, can I speak?
Yeah.
Dr. Sindhu Tamban, tell us, talk to us.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. I have attended all the 7 webinars of you, and it is the very first time I'm listening to you. But as a literature student, I have heard you quite a lot. I have my PhD degree, but I haven't cleared NET. But now I think I am getting ready to clear. I'm there in your Udemy and Rapid Fire group. I'm learning something every day. And thank you so much, ma'am. We love you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If that is all, please remember to give us feedback, fill the feedback form, and we will send you the certificate. If there is any problem with the certificate, we can also correct it. There are only limited number of 100 or something possible in one day. So all your certificates will reach you within 1 or 2 days. We'll be in touch in the group. I hope all of you have spoken. Is there anybody else left now?
May I?
Yeah.
Before that, your final note?
You can speak.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, all of you. After listening your, passionate and lively response, we really become happy and very glad because uh, this 1 week is very fantastic for all of us, not for you, me also, because after long time I hear ma'am. So on the behalf of our organization team, it is our particular part or duty. We can say vote of thanks to all my colleagues and all my people who works with me. See, there are one, two, what you call suggestion I can put here, because there are so many people, they message us and they ask so many things that 1 week is not enough, my dear friends, because listening theory and understanding theory, it is not possible in 1 week. You take your time, understand the things better, you follow the ma'am, and you will get clear picture about that. That is very important thing. And another thing is that after getting net and set, after joining our what we call uh, profession, one thing also I realized that uh, what we did to make this what you call success, that journey is very important. That is the very important thing I would like to share with you, because as I said, when I joined TES in the year of 2013, and there was what you call multicultural class, multicultural food also there. So we people, I stayed personally there more than 1 year, and I understand the whole structure of TES. I understand the whole structure of our class and my friend. I made lot of friends there. I enjoy teaching. You will not believe that I asked more than 3,000 questions in my duration of learning, because this was my first time and I was very what you call confused about my subject. So slowly I touched all these things, and I'm not perfect, I can't say at this stage, but the journey which I got from that point, now I am traveling on that path. This is the very important thing, and hope uh, because journey is very important. Success is not what you call important as at this point I can say, because what we receive from that journey, what we get, the experience and all these things, these are very wonderful for us, because these are the memory we are keeping with us. You know the Derrida's term trace, and we are living in traces with Tace and ma'am, and these traces always help us in our personal life also and in our professional life also. So I'm very much means, you know that initially we were engineer when we took the admission in TES. Now we are brick college. Now we are doing our set, and things are like this. So I'm very much happy, and I really thanks to ma'am, because of her consent we organized this workshop or this webinar. And I also thanks to Mr. Raven, because of his schedule. He's very tight because he was appearing for what is a ELTI's exams and so many. He paid attention on this webinar and made his help here. There is another person, Mr. Bonsale, as I mentioned his name, because he handled all what you call technical side from our side. I also thanks him. There are so many people from TES, particularly soils is there, Mr. Ankit, who is the behind this picture, who is handling all these things. I thanks to all these what you call TES team also. Once again, I thanks our ma'am. Hope again we will see her in another what you call segment. And I also thanks all the participants for your what you call this response and overwhelming what you call feedbacks and everything. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Raven, would you like to speak something?
Yes, ma'am. Only few say.
Everybody is hungry, so just a few words, Raven.
Yes, yes. I'm very thankful to all participants, scholars, and teachers. We enjoyed a lot, and we also, while we will do in future for some more activity like this. So keep in touch with us, and let's enjoy literature, theory, contemporary criticism, etc. Everything. So once again, I would like to say very thanks because of your huge response, because of your strong support, we have succeed in this function. Thank you once again.
Okay, we'll end the meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Love you, ma'am. Thank you.
Love
Bye.
you too. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Bye. Take care.